Good morning, Copers. Good morning. Hello. How are you guys doing? It is Monday, August 24th. And we got a big show today. Thank you, End Usery, for the $20. Yeah, and thank you to everybody who came out on Saturday. That was a fun show. Good time. Appreciate all the support. And let's just get into it because we got a lot of things. Also, I have a cold coming on. So, just letting you know now, my kid got a cold somehow and passed it on to me. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, Francesca, who is James Fishback's ex-girlfriend. We all know and love Francesca. She did a stream with Beardson and Zerka, which I don't know. I haven't listened to. I don't know anything. I don't even know what they're talking about. But someone said, I still think you're destined to marry JF Gariepi, get inseminated by him, and then live happily ever after together. Francesca says, I do miss JF. And then JF quote tweets that. He says, sorry, Francesca, but another woman has taken the insemination offer. So once again, the Chad JF gets a new girlfriend who wants to get pregnant. You can't even get a call back. Francesca says, who? I will fight her. Dawn Merritt says, should have made your move, Francesca. The insemination schedule waits for no one. And then Francesca says, honestly, Dawn, I'm happy for you. Don't go hiking. You deserve this. Don't go hiking. Yeah. And then Dawn says, I wish. No, it's not me either, babe. And then Dawn says, JF, I think it's time to take the inseminations exponential, especially with white people food coming out. I know that you prefer monogamy, but for the good of the Gariepi clan's future, maybe you could move past it. Francesca clips and I don't want to be left behind with empty uteruses. And then JF says, I will not. Very happy with monogamy. So this guy's got literal women like offering polygamy to him, and you can't even get a call back. And also he's turning it down. He's like, no, JF is a one-woman man. Somebody offered a similar thing to me after I met Allison. This is like right after I met her. I don't even know if we were married yet, or if we were, we had just gotten married. And this girl who was like a fan of the show, and I haven't heard from her in years and years, but she was blonde. She bought one of those old Hypocrite hoodies and like sent a picture to me of herself wearing the hoodie. And she kind of asked me if I would like do polygamy and if she could come live with me and Allison. And even I was like, damn, how do I sell this to Allison? And then I was like, you know what? I don't think I'll ask. So I never told her about that. If she's listening now, it's the first she's ever heard of it.
Sent $5 on Rumble. Cool. Like if yeah. So oh, Ohio goal sign math.
What? Thank you. Do you guys like that intro video, by the way? It's a pretty cool video. No, it was not Cringe Panda. She's still a minor, apparently. I don't know if that intro video is Japanese or Korean, full disclosure. I don't make a distinction. That the occasional Chinaman might slip in as well. It's, look, racism is a science, but it's not an exact science. Well, I'm the only guy who is like, you know what? Maybe polygamy wouldn't be so bad. Maybe having multiple wives would. I'm the only guy who's ever thought that. Okay, cool. It's just me. Allison texted me, was that the fat girl? No, she wasn't fat. I don't even think I have the pictures anymore though, because like I used to have a folder with like 100 pictures of all the Hypocrite fan signs that people sent me back in the day, and then I think when I got my new computer, I didn't transfer it over. I was like, time to move on. Something's got to be. It's kind of like how like I used to have like a different folder of nudes from women who had sent me nudes. And you kind of, you hang on to those as a guy, you know what I mean? Those are like trophies. But then at a certain point when you're married, it's like, you know, time to let that go. So I don't have any of those pictures anymore. I just left them all in the past. One woman is enough to deal with. So true. Oh, you could say that again, brother. Okay. Anyway, what else we got? Oh, Ked's dad, who was mentioned in the end usery super chat, by the way, but he called in on Saturday and we were talking about physiognomy and Nancy Clancey or whatever her name is, Lindsay Clancey. And then I saw this on Telegram and I thought it was kind of funny. An unreliable mother. This is from Vought's Practical Character Reader. Back when we used to actually teach important skills. Philosophicat did point out that the whole point here is this dip in the back of the head, which you can't actually see in the Nancy Clancey. And, you know, the nose is not an exact match. Neither are the eyes. It's more of a shit post than anything. But I did think it was kind of funny. We were having that discussion about the physiognomy of child killing women. The Muslim cowboy. This is just something that popped up onto my feed yesterday. And it's like, what the F, man? The Muslim cowboy. Arabic is the most beautiful language in the world. Notice how it's like okay, so you're an English speaking American and you're becoming a Muslim, and yet you're like Philo-Arabic, and you have to like glaze the language and stuff like that. Like the point I'm trying to make is that religions are like racial, and this is just more proof, right? If it was just about the Quran, you know what I mean? I'm a Christian, but I don't talk about how fucking awesome Hebrew is or even Greek, or you know what I mean? Because it's not like a weird cultural thing for me. It's just my religion. But this guy's a Muslim, but he's got to talk about how beautiful the Arab language is. Also, you have these people and it's like it becomes your whole identity, right? I'm the Muslim cowboy. I'm a Muslim and a cowboy. Yeah. Like, what are we doing, guys? What are we doing? Every day someone embraces Islam. Thank you, Allah, for everything. Just every post just about being a Muslim.
The Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, is my hero. There's nothing that he did that I wouldn't do. That's it.
Okay. That's got to be a troll. The Prophet Muhammad is my hero. And then he explicitly says, there's nothing he did that I wouldn't do. Yeah, we all know what he did. We all know what that means. FBI hard drive check. Can we get a hard drive check? FBI at FBI. Hard drive check, please. Andrew Tate's lawyers have done some filings, and there's kind of some interesting things in there. One of the things they said is that the Of Wu Dan account is not his. So that was Andrew Tate's account. I was like in contact with that account. This is back when we were like setting up the shows. That's the account he was using, I'm pretty sure. He had one called Tate Speech, which was the first account I knew him on. And then that got banned, and then he started using an account that was called Of Wu Dan. That was the handle. And that was back when we had him on Sex Wars. That's like, I was literally like booked him through that account. But the lawyers in the filing, they're saying that's not his account because you know, this is before he blew up and got super famous, right?
King Jewish sent $3. The Bible is far more race realist than what the Pope and Orthodox fathers have said. Man-made traditions will downplay racial distinctions, and the followers of the Pope have to agree.
So true. So true. Thank you, King Jewish. No argument here. So I guess so my point is, right, before he was famous, he would say all kinds of like very provocative things, probably a bunch of which he said on that account. And now to the point where the lawyers are saying, oh no, that's not him. Almost every single one of these posts is from an account named @ofwudan. This account does not belong to Andrew Tate, and he did not generate these posts. And then here's a video of Andrew Tate saying,
I'm on Twitter.
Saying it's his account.
So I'm on Twitter at the moment @ofwudan, OFWUDAN. Try and follow me on Twitter if you can, because it's where I'm most active. But my Twitter accounts don't last that long, so who knows how long I'll be there for. So I'm on.
Hold on.
Accounts don't last that long, so who knows how long I'll be there for. So,
was he talking to me on this stream? Because I could like hear myself doing my little.
Accounts don't last that long, so who knows how long I'll be there for.
Laughing. I'm not sure. This might have been actually clipped straight out of Sex Wars. I don't even know. I'd have to go back and look at what he was wearing. I don't remember him wearing a weird Hugh Hefner robe thing, but maybe. Anyway, in addition to that, they also said that the Bugattis are rented. So this says, the Tates are engaged in several businesses teaching men how to earn money. It is in their interest to portray themselves on social media as uber wealthy. For example, the $2.1 million Aston Martin and $5 and $7 million Bugattis featured in Tristan's videos were rented. Now, Tate's fans in the replies are saying that, yeah, he owns the rental company and rents them to themselves because it's easier to get them back if they get seized, which sounds like it might be cope. But then also this guy says that the Bugatti has Tate stitched into the headrest, which, assuming that's true, like that would be a weird rental. That'd be a very specific rental. So anyway, make of that what you will. Even if he does own the rental companies, it's obvious that the lawyers are kind of getting desperate. They're trying to deny that he owns his Twitter account that he owned, and they're trying to deny he owns these cars. Right? Either he doesn't own the cars and he was faking on his wealth on social media. There's also about a yacht right here. Up here it says a promotional video filmed aboard a yacht is not evidence of title to the yacht. So they're denying owning the yacht. I remember like Tristan was tweeting. They were tweeting a lot about designing their like $5 billion super yacht or whatever. I remember those tweets. He's like tweeting about, oh man, having to design my own super yacht. It's really, really getting down in the weeds on all the details or whatever. Like these humble brags, And then the lawyer's saying they don't own a yacht. What are you talking about? So it's like either they're faking the wealth or the lawyers are desperately trying to deny that they have the wealth that they have. Anyway, like I said, I think we might not be seeing the Tates out of jail for a very long time. Also, a little update on the Henry Novak case. There are two parts of this transcript we can't release yet due to ongoing cases. They concern evidence that was deemed inadmissible. There is one part where they searched through 6 years of his messages to try to find evidence that Henry was racist. So here from the court transcript says, oh yes, just one other matter just to pick it up. The messaging when Henry uses the word packy, I think he is 12 or 13, on a group chat with other children, and there is no other use of that word from that age through to 18. So they went through 6 years of his message, found that he said he used the word packy one time when he was like 12 years old, and then they had to like account for that and explain that. Just showing how desperately they tried to paint this guy as being racist. They also got like they had to get a statement from this is like the prosecution trying to put this guy in jail for murder. A statement from his ex-girlfriend who is mixed race. I'm making this statement in relation to my boyfriend, Henry Novak. My father is mixed race. He's half Jamaican. I also have Irish blood in me. This has never been an issue. In fact, Henry was very proud of my hair. Your Honor, how can my client be racist? He dated a girl he dated a quadroon, Your Honor. Your Honor, how can my client be racist when he dated a quadroon who's also part Irish for the which might even be worse. The Irish part might be worse than the quarter Jamaican, Your Honor, if I may be so bold. Okay. Return to the Land is suing the government. I've only watched like the first like minute of this video. If you saw YCSP, it's a mulatto. I was going to push the button, but I'm like, I push it a lot. And also it's technically well, her father was a mulatto. Her father was actually.
It's a mulatto.
If you watched YCSP last night, you would have seen the first like 1 minute of this video as well. But basically what he explains in that minute is that because they've been under like constant investigation, and he's saying there's all these other groups who have similar setups and they don't get investigated. So it's what is it? Disparate treatment? What do they call it? It's not equal treatment, so they're suing the government for, under the Civil Rights Act, I guess.
Return to the Land is suing the federal government. Our private membership association dedicated to preserving our shared European heritage and fostering community for people of European descent has been under ongoing, open-ended, onerous, capricious, and expensive state and federal investigations for months. The process we're being dragged through is itself a punishment, and it's being selectively targeted at us. This is a clear case of disparate treatment. Other ethnic and racial groups have their own exclusive communities and associations. We've documented them, and yet they are not being subject to the same kind of invasive government intervention that we are. Why is that? It's because our views are controversial. It's because we're white. And they think
change course from a land initiative to a lawfare initiative. I mean, it was always a legal battle. It was always I think they said they knew they were going to have to fight this in court. That was always part of the plan, and part of the plan was to like set the precedent that actually it's legal to do this, right? The hope being that once the legal precedent is set, then more people are going to be like, oh, you can do this. Well, there you go. We should do this.
they can get away with it.
Oh, yeah. I didn't have that story pulled up, but yeah, the Nick Bugas, is that his name? Was it Burgess? Bugas, also known as a white man, the cartoonist who designed the Happy Merchant, passed away. I don't really know much about the guy, but pretty epic meme, the Happy Merchant. So rip to that guy.
We will not tolerate this conspiracy on the part of state actors to deprive us of our civil rights, of our constitutional rights to free expression and free association. If you believe in freedom, whether you agree with us or not, you want us to win this case. Jewish people, black people, Hispanic people, Asian people, they all want the same right to freely associate, to have their own communities. They do have their own communities. And if we want to keep that right going forward, it's important that we win this battle. So in the Eastern District of Arkansas, we are suing the U.S. Department of Justice, Civil Rights Division, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the Arkansas Securities Department, and the Arkansas Attorney General, Tim Griffin, all of whom have open investigations into us. We're suing them for declaratory and injunctive relief.
This is one of these things, though, like, dude, If they were black and this was happening to them, they would win. They would win like $150 million. You know what I mean? Why F? Don't say F. That makes me think the stream died. I don't like when people do that. But will they let the white man have a win like this? Oh, F for the guy who died, right? Sorry.
They have conspired to
A white
drag us through the
man.
ringer, cost us a bunch of money because they disagree with.
This goes back to like what I was talking about with my fee awards getting denied by hashtag Latinas in Lawfare or whatever, Latinas in Justice or whatever it was. The judges can just like, they have so much discretion. That's the problem. Are these lawsuits going to go in front of a jury? Because that's your only chance. And then you just have to hope that the jury is cool with you being labeled as a racist white person. But you have a better chance with that than you do with these judges who can just unilaterally like rule against you, you know?
With us. And we are going to make sure they have to decide once and for all whether what we're doing is legal or illegal.
This sounds like a grift. How can it be a grift if the law is you can't treat people differently based on race, and then they're getting treated differently based? I mean, there has been lots of lawsuits about white people being discriminated against, and some of them have been won against their former employers and stuff like that. Usually it requires like the employer is on record being like, yeah, no, we don't want a white person for this promotion. You know what I mean? They'll say something like, right. So if your boss is like, sorry, but we don't want to give this promotion to a white guy, and then you sue them for discrimination, how is that a grift? I 100% support all of those lawsuits, and I support this one too. Yeah, some of them are winning, yeah.
Despite the mountain of case law and evidence that we've accrued supporting our case for the legality of our framework, if they decide, despite our best efforts, paying thousands of dollars to lawyers over years to try to do this the right way, if they decide, no, we're shutting you down, well then, that's going to radicalize a lot of people. That's going to close certain doors and pathways, and it'll tell us where we really stand. And that's a much better state of affairs than where we are now, this anarcho-tyranny where they selectively apply the law, they selectively target people for investigations in a politicized way. We can't have that. They're going to have to either say what you're doing is illegal, we're going to shut it down, or it's legal, and then that opens the door for white Americans all over the country to have their own communities without worrying about being prosecuted and persecuted by government. So if you want to support us in this fight, we're going to go all the way with it, and it's going to be expensive. Support us at givesendgo.com/RTTL-legal-fees. Whether you agree with us or not, whether you like me or not, you want Americans to have the right to freely associate. It's going to be a better country. Listen, if we have different communities expressing their values, able to live the way they want, that's a richer place, that's a better place than one where
whites have a higher burden. Yeah, I know. There has been some rulings. There's already some precedent set where it's like white people don't get the same consideration. Like that's literally I know I've seen stuff about that. Let me see what Grok says. Hey Grok, is it true that there's been court rulings in the US on civil rights that say something along the lines of like white people not being entitled to the same level of consideration as other minority groups?
No. The opposite is true under current US law. The Equal Protection Clause in civil rights statutes apply the same standards to everyone. In the 1976 case McDonald versus Santa Fe Trail, The Supreme Court held that white people are just as entitled to protection against racial
Cat
discrimination
Respecter
as
Riza
anyone
sent
else.
$5
More
on Power
recently,
Chat.
in
So you
June
work for a
2025,
casino
the
now.
court
Do you
unanimously
support
struck down the
gambling?
background
Why not
circumstances
talk
rule
about
in
how
Ames
Height is
versus
rolling
Ohio.
over on all his
That
friends
rule
for the
had forced white and
SPLC?
other majority
Or maybe you can host him again and ask about it. Know any moral hosts I can watch instead?
I know a dick you can suck. Thanks for the $5 though. Thanks for the $5. By the way, HT hates gambling and calls out people for doing gambling promos. So why don't you go watch HT? Fag.
People are forced together against their will. We can't have that. This is such an important battle. Jewish people should support it. Black people should support it. Asian people should support it. We should all be behind this. And actually, when I talk to average people of all races who know about Return to the Land, who have heard about it, the vast majority of them are supportive. So I think it's against government's interest to rule against us here. It would also be contradictory to what government has already done in our case, because actually we've already been investigated for alleged violations of the FHA. The Arkansas Fair Housing Commission already opened their investigation and closed it.
Oh.
And they found...
In June 2025, the court unanimously struck down the background circumstances rule in Ames versus Ohio. That rule had forced white and other majority group plaintiffs to meet a higher evidentiary burden in workplace discrimination cases. So that's what the chatter was referring to, and that's what I was looking up. That was struck down in June of last year. The justices said the law draws no such distinction. So that was on the books until last year, that white people had a higher evidentiary burden.
No evidence of wrongdoing. Arkansas Attorney General Tim Griffin, his office, announced that after months of investigation, they found zero evidence of wrongdoing. That's because from day one, we have tried our best to abide by the law. So if despite exonerating evidence in our favor, if government still unilaterally decides to attack us and deprive us of our rights, I don't think the American people will like that very much. And so the American people need to know that this is happening. If you can share this video, it would be tremendously helpful. If you can chip in to the legal battle, it would be such a benefit, not just to us, where, yeah, our necks are on the line. We're risking it all and stand to gain basically nothing except the same rights we're fighting.
Is there any point to watching 5 more minutes of this?
Cat Respecter is not a rainbow person sent $5 on Power Chat. Good morning.
Thank you, Cat Respecter. How could anybody hate Cat Respecter, just apart from his questionable music tastes?
For you too. And these government actors have really shown themselves to be sloppy and morally bankrupt. HUD especially, it's been ridiculous. So to start with,
oh yeah, I put a couple manual filters that change certain slurs into like euphemisms like that. They almost never come up though.
They sent us the wrong letter. They actually sent us by mistake a letter that was supposed to go to the EPIC community, the Muslim intentional community or housing development.
Oh, what's this? So they sent a letter to the Muslim, which I don't know if that's the same one that guy called in. I know most people don't watch the call-in show, but there was a guy like a month ago who called in about telling us about how these Muslims came in and bought this building and they were trying to turn it into like Muslim only housing. And there was like a fight with, City Hall and people trying to stop it. So I don't know if this is the same story, but very similar, if not the exact same. So the government sent a letter to them, but they sent it to RTTL by mistake. Okay. So what was in the letter?
And that letter was short. It was apologetic. It was saying, we're going to have to look into you. It's basically a formality. Now, that's an actual real estate development. People are making millions of dollars out of that. And they were advertising it as an exclusive religious community. Arguably, that could have been a violation of the FHA. But HUD was very, very soft on them, and they actually did close their investigation after only 2 months. HUD's investigation of us has been open since February, and despite full compliance, we've given them everything. The letters we get from them are hostile, threatening. We tried to have some kind of conciliatory settlement with them, and so they came out with their conciliation demands. The letter they sent us was extortion. There was no effort to conciliate or tell us what we had to amend. Instead, they threatened us with having to set up a $40,000 compensation fund for alleged victims of our discrimination, plus a $10,000 civil penalty, plus being open to 3 years of monitoring, meaning they can come into our community, they can come into our homes anytime they like for the next 3 years to make sure that we're, not secretly still racist or something.
Amazing. I mean, it sounds like they have a really strong case just comparing the different treatment. Seems kind of black and white to me.
They said we would have to amend our public statements. They're trying to compel speech and have us change our views on social media. And not only that, so they're threatening, they're hot.
By the way, it makes me think about how, how like Patriot Front will do a march and then all these retarded conservatives on X will call them feds. And then people point out, like, if they were feds, why, like, that means Trump is like in charge of that. So you're saying Trump is doing this, right? Like, because it's one thing you say that when it's Biden, but you're supposed to be like a Trump supporter, but now you're basically accusing Trump of like paying Nazis to march through the streets or whatever. And it's also same thing here. It's like if the feds push white supremacy, why would they be trying to shut down Return to the Land? It's like, I mean, I know we all know that that's stupid, the Fed jacketing thing, but this is just another example of how that's stupid.
Style, but they lost our documents. They sent us the wrong letter for one, and the documents that we were sending them, they lost them.
Yeah, and this is another thing about the system is you encounter shocking levels of incompetence. There's bias, obviously, and then there's also just rank incompetence where like stuff like this happens. They lose the files. You send them like you send your filing and it just gets like lost at the court or whatever. Like all kinds of stuff like that happens.
And by their own admission, never even read a large number of our documents before sending us that extortion letter threatening us with all of these punishments. It's insane. And, HUD, there isn't much you can do. They're not taking you to court. They are unilaterally imposing some kind of fine. That's how they operate, which is why we have to sue them for injunctive relief. So I'm very hopeful. There's a lot of case law supporting our arguments. I think we've positioned it very well. Our legal team is extremely intelligent and hardworking, and we're doing our very best to secure the rights of all American citizens. Please help us. If you can, givesendgo.com/RTTL-legal-fees. That money doesn't go to me at all. I get none of it. This isn't for my benefit, except insofar as, I don't want to actually ultimately be fined and all of that. I do want to avoid that harm, but mostly I want to protect the same rights that you want for yourself. If you can chip in $5 a month, hey, that's something. If 1,000 people do that, it goes a long way. So even if it feels like you can't meaningfully help, you can. You can contribute something, and this is the big battle. Not just for pro-white activists who all should support it. Again, whether you like me or not, we should all be supporting this because it is the battlefield. It is the front line right now in a much broader struggle. But not just pro-white activists, all the Jewish people who have their intentional communities, all the black people who have theirs.
Yeah, tough sell.
Right.
Yeah, sure. The Jews will be opening up their wallets really wide for RTTL.
To maintain their own cultures unmolested by government, they should all be supporting us too. So wish us the best. Pray for us. If you can help us out, it would be a huge benefit. Again, we're seeking declaratory and injunctive relief. We're looking for these investigations to be closed, for them to be forced not to open the same investigations again, and for some kind of judgment to be made. The DOJ, HUD, the Arkansas Securities Department, Attorney General Tim Griffin, they're going to have to decide.
Yeah.
Are we guilty? Are we not guilty?
Top donator on their Give Send Go is Ben Shapiro.
And if we're in violation of the law, what law and exactly how? Many people have alleged many things about us. Many anonymous bloggers have said really heinous things about myself personally, about the association, mixing some truth with a lot of lies, a lot of mischaracterizations. But we're the ones who are out there trying to fight for your rights, trying to fight for our rights as white Americans. We need your help. We need your prayers. Please support givesendgo.com/RTTL-legal-fees. Please share this video. The American people need to know what's happening, because at the end of the day, if they decide to abuse their power and shut us down and punish us, the American people need to understand what that means. And it's going to push politics in a certain direction, a much more radical direction that I don't think our officials actually want. So pray for us, help us. Thank you for listening.
Yeah, cool. I support that. I'm glad. I think that's a good move. I'm glad they're doing that. I did donate to this a long time ago. I gave like $25. Might chip in another $25 here. Looks like they've raised $200K so far. Yeah, it's very expensive stuff. I do support this. I do think it's good. You know, somebody had called in on the Saturday show and was asking about, like, you know, people are checking out in politics and like, what are we supposed to do once we checked out? And so you have 4 options if you want to do something with your life. Okay. These are the options. Number 1, and this is mostly for young, high IQ, highly competent people: become a groyper, infiltrate the GOP, become a young Republican, become a staffer, and work on the takeover of the Republican Party. That's the Nick Fuentes route. That's a good route for the right people who can do that. Option 2, join Patriot Front. Option 3, join RTTL. Go live in a white intentional community like that. And then option 4, which is the one that I do, is like try to get a family compound going, basically. If you're set up kind of, if you have a family and you're making money, focus on trying to make as much money as you can so that you can own land and have all your family, as much family as possible, like living together in the same spot, and just sort of ride out the storm that way. What do you guys, I'll put a YouTube poll. What's the best? Hold on. How do you do polls? I never do these things. Start a poll. Okay. Which way? Western man. And then I'm going to put Groyper, Patriot Front, RTTL, and then family compound. Ideally, only people who are actually doing one of those 4 things would just say which one they're doing. But I know what's going to happen is a bunch of people who aren't in Patriot Front are going to vote for Patriot Front. I know my audience. I know how you guys think. Groiper, more like Soiper. All right, moving on.
Mr. Bliss Chilling sent $3 on Power Chat. Become truly skilled at something, then use that skill for the cause of Christ and the white race.
Yeah. I mean, that you can do that, and then also that goes with any of, I mean, that kind of goes without saying. Thank you for the $3, but all 4 of the things I mentioned should all include that as a matter of course. Burying sea cans. What is a sea can? All right, the Data Republican kerfuffle. So this tweet from Data Republican says, I posted this week from a place of stress and I said more, faster, and louder than the moment called for. I don't regret caring about doing things the right way. I do regret making it a public spectacle before it was understood and pulling people I respect into the swirl. That part is on me. I'm deleting the threads, going to step back and let this be handled the way it should be. So basically what happened was Data Republican put up a tweet saying that the federal government was trying to entrap her because they leaked a story to her for her to publish, and the story was marked, the files she was given were marked like not for public consumption or whatever, something like that, not for distribution. And so she was like, oh my God, if I post these, they're going to put me in jail. And so she immediately called out the undersecretary, or wait, who is it? This person. Who's this person? Sarah Rogers, the undersecretary for public diplomacy, who is the person that gave her the files. And the reaction to this, a lot of people were like, you're a spurg, basically. So there was also a lot of people supporting her and being like, oh my God, bunch of women, for the record. Women have gone insane. It's this sort of conspiracy, latent, paranoid thing. Don't trust the government, everything. Not that you should fully trust the government, but there is such a thing as being paranoid. There is such a thing as being too paranoid. You got to figure out the balance. Anyway,
Anonymous sent $3 on Power Chat. There is a 5th option. Find Asian women who want white for their mixed races babies, like Felix Rex was discussing in his most recent video.
White. What is the word that got? Oh, white men for their mixed race babies. Yeah. So Felix Rex, that's Black Pigeon Speaks, right? Yeah, no, that's not. The race mixing with an Asian is not officially endorsed by the Daily Cope. Okay, that's a good path for guys who can't get a white woman. If you're in your 50s and you failed at finding a white woman, if you're way worse at mating than JF Gary Epi, if you're completely mating mogged by JF Gary Epi and you're in your 50s and it's literally over for you, then I guess whatever, do what you got to do. But we do not endorse the race mixing with Asians. Looks like Family Compound is winning at 50%. Oh, actually, Groyper slightly edging out Patriot Front. I guess I was wrong. I would have predicted Patriot Front would have more support than the Groypers in the audience here, but how many votes are on this? Only 40 votes. That's not a very big sample size. 40 votes, 20 of those people voted for family compound. So it's like what, 8 Groypers and 7 Patriot Fronts? The Groypers are edging. Oh. Anyway. You know, people were like, maybe you should have like reached out to her and been like, hey, are you sure I can publish these or whatever before you go public? So this was like the public post, which was deleted, but there's still some replies here. Data Republican said, I walked in with good faith, ready to collaborate on Cuba. Got shoved a bunch of hard copy documents to leak. Didn't check them before accepting, gave a non-committal answer. Yep, markings that would have gotten me in big trouble. The markings weren't crossed out. I consulted people, and if this were a sanctioned leak, they would have just sent over email. They tried to entrap me. So I guess they gave her physical files instead of an email, which kind of makes sense. If you have an email, an official email through an official channel, that's like proof of where you got it from, right? Undersecretary says, LOL, these are my text messages and documents. The markings are FOIA redactions required even for voluntary disclosure. To prove this isn't a trap, I will happily disclose the documents myself. Here they are. So then she goes on to post the documents, which all had to do with this group, the GEC, Global Engagement Center, which is like a government, I believe. I don't know if it's an NGO or an actual public. We'll look in a sec, but they were tasked with like going after foreign misinformation campaigns, right? And then the leak, the scandal is that they were actually going after people domestically, right-wingers. They were going after right-wingers for misinformation when that was not within their purview. So that's what the leak was that they gave to Data Republican. This guy kind of breaks it down in this tweet. States Global Engagement Center existed to track foreign propaganda, Russia, China, Iran. That was the legal box. In 2020, the box disappeared. GEC sat inside the Election Integrity Partnership, Stanford Internet Observatory, University of Washington, Graphica, Atlantic Council Ticket System, URLs in, takedowns out. In other words, people would submit URLs and then the government would pursue takedowns through Twitter and that. We already know a lot of this stuff was happening over COVID. DHS CISA was in on it. GEC was in it. A GEC staffer worked the partnership nearly full time through election day, lived in the ticket queue, and joined the Slack on a personal Gmail so the building could pretend it wasn't there. Alex Stamos, who ran EIP, said the quiet part. The partnership existed to do what government lacked legal authorization to do because doing it would violate the First Amendment. Again, the COVID takedowns, the one big example we all know where the Biden admin was going to Twitter and saying, hey, this is misinformation, you got to take it down, violating the First Amendment. No one was ever punished for this, by the way. EIP's own report, every repeat spreader they named on Twitter was an American right-of-center account. Less than 1% of the claims they chased were foreign. GEC's job was the 1%. They worked the 99%. When a GEC EIP staffer flagged a video of U.S. federal employees and contractors talking post-election disruption in D.C., they admitted they couldn't act because it was domestic. Then they submitted the URLs anyway. Sunrise Zoom calls, BLM and shut down DC planning resistance if Trump won. Citizen journalists put it out. YouTube killed it for community guidelines. Right? This is another thing. YouTube going after the election integrity stuff. GEC had already flagged it, meaning GEC had flagged the election integrity stuff as like foreign misinformation, basically, which they have to market foreign. That's the point, so they could go after it. EIP made it a top misinformation target and tracked something like 500,000 tweets. Stamos to the platforms. We're writing this up as disinformation. You might want to act before we drop that. TikTok moved. The GEC staffers celebrated quick action. That was in 2020. In 2022, they ran a gendered disinformation report with EU partners. They treated insults and stereotypes like a foreign influence op. Same season, Nina Jankowicz, remember her? Remember Nina Jankowicz? This was Biden's disinformation czar. She was like a theater kid. And it got so ruthlessly mocked and attacked that the program was basically killed in the cradle. It was like dead on arrival. Nina Jankowicz's disinformation governance board was getting laughed out of DHS. GEC logged Tucker, Ministry of Truth, chin jokes. Americans saying she was a political activist and filed it as a disinfo narrative against her. Internally, they were emailing the same doubts. Steele dossier, Hunter laptop, Trump comments. Then they told Congress, October 2023, that GEC does no domestic work. So they lied to Congress. Rogers posted the receipts. Hearing stills, emails, tickets, a packet that had already gone to Congress stamped not for public release. She called the markings FOIA redactions. The Hill stamp is not a FOIA black box. It's a handle that says this copy doesn't walk out the door. Then she posted the whole thing on the undersecretary account in an hour so she could do it herself. She just did. We're talking about the undersecretary posting the documents herself now as opposed to leaking them to Data Republican. Blacks won't raise my kid. Is this chat female friendly? Not if you're a mud shark. The files are GEC eating Americans. The method is why you should care. Official speech wouldn't carry. Data Republicans would. State wanted the drop with someone else's name on it. Deniability if the stamp turned into a problem, and a researcher's audience doing public diplomacy's job. Someone said, is this how Natalie Winters gets her scoop? And it's a good question because Natalie Winters has like a whole bunch of exclusive things that she's dropping all the time. LA County took $5 million from wildfire rent relief and redirected it to erase housing debt after ICE detentions and deportations. A Catholic seminary that trained boys for the priesthood is set to become a full-time Islamic boarding school for Muslim boys. Chinese institutions are building AI models of American voters and testing political messages on them. Fudan used 171 million X posts to create a 1 million account voter pool. Okay. Anyway, so a lot of these people who are like mainstream, long story short, they get stories given them from the government to leak. These influencers who are like working with the government, and Data Republican got one and she kind of spurred out, which drew a lot of attention to the fact that this is happening and had a lot of people criticizing Data Republican for being a spurg, which so many people were criticizing her that, as you saw, she eventually put up an apology and deleted her tweets. That's the story. Gen X girl said, I've been saying Data Republican is a fraud. Candace Owens says, oh, you mean the person who out of nowhere during the Tyler Robinson prelim hearing created a thread accusing me of being a digital assassin, responsible for death threats against Erica Kirk because I am investigating her husband's murder, is actually working with the deep state, whom incidentally do not want Charlie's murder investigated. Color me shocked that TPUSA was rabidly promoting her fake data as if it wasn't laughable, obvious propaganda meant to criminalize noticing that the case against Tyler Robinson is a deep state concoction. Data Republican is a total fraud who is clearly working in conjunction with the state and who can now be summarily dismissed. See, this is the same thing that I was talking about being overly parent right. So the state is just inherently bad. The government is just like bad. There's you can't work with the government unless you're also evil. But of course, this is not applied. This is not a rule, a principle that is applied all the time evenly. It's just, but it's something that is used when you want to discredit somebody. You say, oh, well, they're a Fed. They work with the state. And now it's a bad thing in this particular case. Patriot Front has now edged out the Groypers with 68 votes in. Okay. And on the Charlie Kirk thing, Kanoka the Great says retired Green Beret and Silver Star recipient Chuck Ritter took a 55 millimeter round ballistically nearly identical to the 30-06 through his upper back and down his spine where it lodged near L4 without exiting. Bullets do strange things. So this guy took a 54 millimeter bullet and it lodged in his body. I am ex-Aussie Special Forces. In 2011, one of our DEA partners took a 7.6 millimeter AP. Oh, by the way, this was a full metal jacket that this guy took, by the way, which has more penetration. The poll was on YouTube. I just closed it. AP round through the right side of his temple, exiting out the left side. He was thought to be dead. He was alive, but it severed his optic nerves, leaving him blind. So this guy took a bullet in one temple that went out the other side of his head, and he lived. That's crazy. And J.D. Vance was talking about this conspiracy theory about the bullet. If you watched YCSP, you heard this last night too. I'm not going to play the whole thing, but I'll skip to the end. He basically says what I've been saying, which is that it doesn't make any sense. These people are like, okay, we're going to frame Tyler Robinson. We're going to set him up with his 30-06 Mauser rifle, but we're going to shoot Charlie Kirk with like a 9mm palm pistol or an exploding mic. And nobody is like, well, wait a minute. Wouldn't the 30-06 split him in half though?
And she just doesn't deserve the attacks that have been leveled against her. And in terms of like, you know, the exploding microphone, I mean, all these different theories, the one theory that I've always just been very annoyed by, because I like, you know, I served in the Marine Corps and I know a lot of close friends who are ballistics experts, who were scout snipers back when that program was active in the Marine Corps. And there was this idea that, you know, this is gruesome, but
I'm glad I did ask. It's clearly not. I'll leave you all to your circle jerk. Yeah, bye. Oh, boo fucking who. Look, I don't have a problem with women being in the chat, but when you show up and you're like, hey guys, I'm a girl, is that okay? Just immediately out the gate. How can I make this about me? Hey everybody, I'm the center of attention. Yeah, bye. See ya.
That Charlie had to have been shot with a smaller caliber round. And I talked to probably a half dozen people about that who actually know ballistics, and they're like, you know, bullets do really odd things when they impact the human body. And the idea, first of all, like, the idea that somebody is smart enough to engage in a conspiracy to murder Charlie Kirk, but they're going to plant the wrong caliber weapon, and some sleuth on the internet is going to find the real truth. That, for whatever reason, has always struck me as so bizarrely irrational that, like, if you really think that there was a grand conspiracy, whether it was Israel or the French or somebody else to murder Charlie, but you think the people who were smart enough to pull that off were not smart enough to drop the right murder weapon, that has always struck me as just
Is this chat okay? Hey guys, I'm a Chad. I'm a 6'5" Chad. Is this chat cool with that, or are you guys a bunch of incels who are going to get jealous at what a Chad I am?
bizarre part of the theory. But, you know, I sort of see that as just, that is life in the era of the internet. So that stuff doesn't bother me. The stuff that bothers me.
Anyway, I was saying that from day one. And then I said, and I'm surprised I haven't heard more people say this, because on day one, when I pointed that out, I said, I predicted what conspiracy theorists were going to say, which is that they do that intentionally because they have to like rub it in your face. Meaning they intentionally like have it make no sense. This is why you can never win. You can never win with a conspiracy theorist, because there's always an answer. When you're able to just like speculate about the most sensational things happening, then you're always going to be able to come up with an answer. If there's never any expectation that your claims are going to be somewhat grounded in reality, then you're always going to be able to come up with an explanation for everything, right? It's like, why would they do that? Why would they use the wrong caliber? Oh, because they're rubbing it in your face. Because it's part of the ritual for you to be humiliated by them by knowing that they did it. But I haven't heard that many people say that. So whatever. Nathan Cofnas, moving on. In fact, I don't think I've heard anybody say that, actually. The closest I've seen is Owen Benjamin saying that they ate Charlie Kirk and that they openly bragged about eating Charlie Kirk. Anyway, Nathan Cofnas, the guy who is at the center now of this Jason Arday, he's the scapegoat. He's the one to blame for the most brilliant black man who ever lived killing himself. He's been doing a couple interviews, and he's been handling himself really well in these interviews.
We gaan langs bij Nathan Cofnas, de meest gehate academicus aan de UGent en sinds gisteren preventief geschorst.
Well, they've shut me out of my email account. They've banned me from campus.
De brief van de rector bevat een aantal heel concrete elementen en beschuldigingen aan Cofnas' adres.
Things that are being pointed out is comments you made.
They probably do get off watching smart people make excuses for nonsense. No, it's the opposite. They get off on the smart people who see through the nonsense but are frustrated that they can't do anything about it. They're getting off on your frustration. They're not getting off on my cope. Get it straight.
About Professor Arday.
It's all about you.
For example, you called him mentally disabled.
Oh yeah, there's a menorah. He is Jewish. This is no doubt about Nathan Cofnas being of the Jewish persuasion.
He called himself cognitively impaired. What I said was very similar to what he and his own supporters say.
Ghent University also points out in the letter that you called Jason Arday a worthless scholar.
Yeah, well, he is.
Chad, yes meme.
That's why the university placed him under investigation and why there's a scandal.
Professor Arday is dead now. Some hold you personally responsible for his death.
So now that's a very tricky question, right? I did take an action which set off a series of events that led to a tragic outcome. If I say that I'm not responsible, then it sounds like kind of I don't appreciate the consequences of what happened. If I say I am responsible, I mean, what are the implications of that?
Some accuse you of taking pleasure in his downfall.
I had zero interest in Jason Arde. I had no ill will for him. I wanted him to stay professor and live his best life. This was about DEI and Cambridge. Arde was just incidental to that.
Why would you want him to stay professor, though, if he was there under fraudulent pretenses? Like, you would be, if you wanted him to stay professor, you'd be supporting DEI. I think he probably misspoke a little bit there. Like, he was trying to say, like, I really don't care if he got to stay professor because it's a bigger issue than that. But it's weird to say you wanted him to stay professor when the whole point is that he shouldn't have been there to begin with.
Incidental, but now he said, of course, that you in some way underestimate the human toll this would take.
The fact is, he was an influential, powerful person who sought power and fame. You have to be allowed to critique such people, even if there's some risk that they will take it the wrong way or feel very bad about it.
You said in a podcast interview, and I quote, "After the revolution, I will be the head of the Department of Eugenics and Race Science at Harvard." What did you mean by that?
So Cofnas had a shit post or whatever where he said, "After the revolution, I'll be the head of eugenics," which is like, it's sort of like a parody of the, because the commies would do that all the time, right? And it's like, what are you going to do after the communist revolution? And the joke is they always picture themselves in these very like illustrious positions, not like making widgets in a factory or whatever, you know what I mean? But it's like, that's in communism, that's what happens. The government is like, we need you to go work in a factory and make widgets. But they're always like, I'm going to be designing uniforms for the generals or whatever. Or I'm going to be like in charge of arts and culture. I'm going to be the guy in charge of culture. So David Cofnas is like, after the revolution, I'll be the head of eugenics. And now the reporter's asking him about that.
It was a joke. I made a joke. I didn't even realize the camera was rolling at the time. So
it was on video. It wasn't even a tweet. It was like a joke with people in a room.
The worst thing I say when I think no one is listening, that it's not being recorded, that's it.
And is it really a joke?
Well, I mean, the joke is based on some kind of truth, which is that I think that there should be a science of race. I think that academia should study race. It should study hereditarianism.
So it's not actually a joke?
Well, the joke is that I'm going to be head of the Department of Eugenics and Race Science. People are taking it too seriously, in my opinion.
On social media.
Eugenics is a funny thing. I wasn't even going to bring this up, but I didn't know I haven't watched this video. I didn't know they were going to talk about eugenics, but there was this other tweet I saw yesterday. This guy's like, it's 2026. There's 3 things we don't need to debate. And he goes like, the earth is round. What was the second one? I can't remember. Oh yeah. Evolution is real. And then he says, and eugenics is bullshit. That's number 3, eugenics. And it's like, what does that mean? Evolution and eugenics are like literally the same thing, you fucking retard. Eugenics is just saying that like evolution is real and therefore we can make conscious decisions to get the kind of result that we want, which happens all the time with like in animal husbandry. It's like it's been objectively demonstrated that you can do eugenics programs, you know what I mean? So people say something like eugenics is bullshit and it's just meaningless thing to say. But the word eugenics to people, it means like a completely dystopian control where it's like you're like sterilizing everybody all the time or whatever. So that's and so what they mean is like it's morally wrong to do that because they're kind of picturing like a really extreme example in their minds and then being like eugenics is bullshit. But like if you have a choice between two mates and you choose the mate that you think is more attractive or more intelligent, or if you're a woman, you choose the guy who like makes more money, like congratulations, you're a eugenicist. You just made a eugenic decision when you chose your mate. You know what I mean? It's like everything is eugenics. So to just be like eugenics is bullshit is like really stupid. Right. And so evolution, just to be clear, when I say eugenics is evolution and it sounds like I'm saying evolution is real, there's two kinds of evolution. There's the selective breeding or whatever, just like traits getting passed down, different traits and the outcomes of that, versus like we used to be sludge. Human beings came from amoebas or whatever the official story is. There was a single cell next to a pool of water and then a bolt of lightning hit it. And then 8 billion years later, human beings are, you know, I don't believe in that personally.
Yeah, there's a lot of personal attacks aimed at Rector Petra de Sutter rather viciously.
Yeah, exactly. If you have a choice between a white mate and a black one and you're white and then you choose the white one, then you've just made a eugenic decision.
Attacking her identity as a trans woman.
If somebody has misgendered Rector de Sutter, I had nothing to do with that. And I'm getting harassed.
Yeah, natural selection. That's what I meant. Like that kind of evolution is real.
Would assume a lot more than.
But I don't think human beings are going to grow wings down the road or anything like that, personally. And it's never been demonstrated. The idea that like one species mutates into like something radically, it's just, you can't show it. Anyway, I don't need to do the whole evolution debate, but we had a really good debate between Corey Mahler and JF Gary Epi where they go over, I think that might be the best evolution debate you're ever going to find, because it really makes the strongest case for both sides.
Rector de Sutter. I'm flooded with death threats, just countless, every time I open my email. This is an example of hate mail, since you asked for the most recent, stay safe, kike. Me, I am the Jew in this case. You know, just don't tell people my exact address and I think I'll be okay.
Well, was that like a black Jason Arday supporter who sent that email? What did it actually say? With full sincerity, stay safe, kike. Who knows? Who knows what that person was thinking?
Stay safe, kike.
Is that one of you guys? Who did that?
Me, I am the Jew in this case. You know, just don't tell people my exact address and I think I'll be okay.
Because just to be clear, it is your ambition to stay on at Ghent University, or isn't it?
Well, I'm not out to be fired. It's my job, so.
I like Nathan Cofnas. Okay, sue me. Jew me, sue me. Kick me, kike me. Look, he might be a Jew, but he's so autistic. He's just kind of like charmingly autistic, you have to admit. Now, okay, there's another interview we're going to watch. Also, but just spoiler alert, it's also been shown that the person who fired him from Ghent University is A, transgender, male to female, B, also a plagiarist. So we'll get to that too, because that's funny, but somebody else posted this interview and said it's good. I skipped forward a few minutes because He's talking to like some black Cambridge student here, and then Nathan Cofnas is going to come on in like another minute.
It's already very difficult at times. Right. You can feel quite othered and marginalized. And I think that when you have a professor in your department that says these sort of views and you have people coming to you debating about things, I think it can create not a nice feeling when you're supposed to be happy in your academic setting and able to enjoy what you're doing and learning.
What are you studying again, Nana? Do you mind my asking?
I study philosophy.
You do. And what do you know what you're going to do with your life yet as a career?
Well, yeah, I want to go into education management and open schools in Ghana and so on. So I plan to. Right. Okay. I want to lecture as well and do my master's.
Open schools in Ghana.
In education.
Thanks for all the background. Good luck with your studies, Nana, and so relevant as you're right there at the heart of the story. What made you start this research in the first place? Good morning.
Right, good morning. So my background is in the philosophy of science, particularly biology, philosophy of biology and ethics. So I'm interested in the relevance of evolutionary theory to various problems in across areas of science and philosophy. And as part of this research, I study human evolution and population differences among humans, including in traits such as intelligence.
How do you determine the level of intelligence down to someone's skin color?
Stupid question.
Intelligence and skin color per se are not related. So there are population differences in the means and distributions of scores on intelligence tests.
So you're really saying your research prompts you to believe that in a meritocratic world, black people would only excel in sport and entertainment?
Well, that was not my quote, and in fact, that's a false, obviously a false claim.
I think so. I don't know what the actual quote is, but I keep hearing people say, like, quoting him saying something like, if it was in a without DEI, there wouldn't be any black academics or anything, which I would be surprised if that was the exact quote, because even most HBD people are willing to grant that you could have the occasional outlier.
Well, I have the blog here. I'm in a meritocracy. Harvard, referring to Harvard, the university, will be recruited from the best of the best students, which means the number of black professors would approach 0%.
I don't know what the story is with Cofnas and McDonald. I don't know. I should do a stream with Kevin McDonald. I got Antelope Hill asked me about it a long time ago, and I was just like, yeah, maybe.
Blacks would disappear.
I'll do some more good streams.
From all high-profile positions outside of sports and entertainment. Doctor, I can read on. I've got it in front of me.
Right. Okay, so I think you left out an almost there.
Blacks would disappear from almost all high-profile positions.
Right. So it's almost all high-profile. Right.
Outside of sports and entertainment.
But note the preceding...
But how can you say that?
Preceding sentences. Under a colorblind system that judged applicants only by academic qualifications, blacks would make up 0.7%.
But I ask again, how can you say that?
Right, because I'm quoting Harvard. Harvard conducted an internal study in 2013, which I linked to, as you can see.
What do you hope to
achieve? This interviewer is such a cock, man. He's such a slime ball, because he's answering these very loaded questions and then will not let Cofnas respond. I mean, in all fairness, Cofnas is he's not a showman, and he's also not. I have the same problem doing the call-in show where it's people call in and you're like, dude, get to the fucking point. People don't understand, it's radio. You got to be snappy. You can't ramble. People tune out as soon as you start rambling. So I relate to that problem. But in this very specific case, he goes, how can you say that? How can you say it would only be 0.7% blacks? And Cofnas is like, well, I'm quoting Harvard from their own internal study. And instead of being like, oh, wow, well, if Harvard says it, then it must be true. It's just like, okay, go on to the next thing then. He got me there.
Anonymous sent $5 on Power Chat. How could Cofnas just now say that IQ and skin isn't correlated? Not individually, but in aggregate, yes. He missed a chance there.
Yeah, thank you. It's not how I would have answered the question. Yeah, he said they're not related. Yeah, I would have said that, because there are different average IQs between races, if you know what race somebody is, then statistically they're more likely to be in this group, but not necessarily or whatever. So, yeah, I agree.
By this doctor.
Well, I'm sorry, you brought up the question.
I think Cofnas was just making the point that it's like you're not low IQ because of your skin color. That when he said they're not related, he meant like it's not a causal relationship, which is also pretty defensible, probably. It's not like the melanin that makes you low IQ.
Of how I could say that.
Okay.
So let's finish that
briefly.
So I'm saying that because Harvard said that.
Okay. Why?
Harvard has been sued successfully, found guilty of discriminating against Asian applicants. As part of that lawsuit, their discriminatory practices were revealed. What? Their practices of awarding extra points to members of certain groups.
Okay.
They said that if admissions were based only on academic qualifications, blacks should be 0.7% of Harvard students as opposed to the current approximately 14%.
What would you say to...
It's so frustrating because this guy, the way he's asking these loaded questions, he clearly has a position on this, which is that Cofnas is not only racist but wrong, and he just got blown out so fucking hard because he's like, you said it would only be 0.7% Harvard students would be. How could you say that? And Cofnas is like, they did a study and that's what it showed at Harvard, and I'm just quoting the study. And then he's just like, okay, well, on to the next thing. It's always like that, right? Just like on to, not like, oh wow, that's crazy. Because like 14% of Harvard students are black, but it should only be 0.7%. That's crazy. We really like give blacks a leg up, don't we? That would be like the appropriate response. But because he can't say that without now being guilty of the same thing he's trying to like go after Cofnas for, he has to just like ignore it and be like, okay, on to the next thing.
To black students at the University of Cambridge who've expressed their distress over this?
Well, I should...
Right, on to the next thing, which is, what about the black students who feel distressed by you pointing this stuff out, right? It's not like, holy shit, we really pamper black people and give them all kinds of opportunities that they don't earn. It's, hey man, did you know that when you point this stuff out, it makes black students feel upset?
Comment that...
Don't you have... Where's your humanity, bro?
Statistical generalizations about different populations don't apply to all other populations.
Do you think the white kids who don't make it into Harvard because they gave some way dumber black kid their spot, do you think those people are upset? Do you think maybe those people are also a little bit upset, the ones who are having their opportunities taken away in the name of racial equality?
Bring you back to the question that I asked, Doctor, is what would you say, and I've heard from one already on the show, to black students at Cambridge who are distressed by this?
Right, so I'm answering the question.
I'll deem if you are, actually, Doctor, so let's go ahead.
What an asshole this interviewer is.
What would you say to those students?
Well, you're responsible for the questions. I'm responsible for the answers. Yep. You asked me what I would say.
Here we go.
This is what I would say. So statistical generalizations don't necessarily apply across in different countries and different societies. No,
you're not answering the question. I've spoken with a young black female student. No, you'll listen to me. No, you'll listen to me. Doctor, we do it my way, okay? We're going to do it my way because you're on my show. Doctor, I have heard from a young female black student who has expressed her distress because of this, and she says it's already difficult enough to be a black student at the University of Cambridge.
So Cofnas here, he just needs to say, yeah, you know who else is distressed? All the whites and Asians who are losing their spots to low IQ, and then drop the hard R. A really good tactical hard R could do a lot of good, a lot of good in society.
Cambridge, and this only makes her life and those of her friends who are also black tougher. So I wonder if we could get down to the meat of your answer to that. What would you say directly to that young woman?
Okay, well, as I was saying,
the funny thing is he is trying to answer that question, but he's trying to explain it in a rational way that where you understand, like, look, just because I'm pointing out the statistical reality doesn't mean you're necessarily stupid. Probably you are, but that's not the point. But if the person was smart enough to understand these arguments, you wouldn't have to explain it to them. You don't have to explain this stuff to like a Marcel Dumas or a Revelator in that kind of way. So that's why the better answer is just, look, the white guys who lose their positions to low IQ blacks are also very upset.
I'll skip.
Please don't take me on a tour of academe. Just what would you say to that young woman?
So are you... well, I told you what I say, and you interrupted me. But I'll say that if your position is we're not allowed to talk about Harvard's own statistics about their admission, we're not allowed to talk about Harvard's admissions policy because somebody could pluck that statement.
Your
out of
position
context.
is, Doctor,
you will not even let him finish the answer. Right? He's building a conditional. Right? He's saying if. You're saying I'm not allowed to talk about these statistics, and then before he can even finish and make his point, he's getting interrupted.
Cause offence and distress because of the position you enjoy and the research you can point to. You can knowingly cause distress.
Knowingly cause distress?
Yes.
I mean, people are distressed if you talk about the role of testosterone in sex.
No, I'm not talking about the role.
People...
I don't know why you keep seeking to take me down another path.
He's trying to make a point that you can't control what people are distressed about, and that people being distressed is not a reason to hide the truth, especially in academia of all places. It's one thing to be like, your wife asks you if she looks fat in these jeans, and maybe you fudge the truth a little bit. Not my wife, other people, I'm saying as an example. But in academia, it's you have a little bit more of a duty to actually just figure out what is real.
Anonymous sent $5 on Power Chat. I was distressed by my 85% black middle school basketball team's superior talent as my white coach chose them over me. Where is this DJ's concern for young white athletes?
Yeah, seriously. There's more black people in the NBA, so as a white wannabe basketball player, that really makes me feel distressed.
Knowingly causing distress with black students on the university campus, and I'm saying that you feel that that's okay to do that.
What do you mean I'm saying? I never said anything like that.
Well, you've been trying to justify why this is done. I've asked you 3 times what you'd say to that young woman. You've declined to say that.
Why are you asking me why it's justified to talk about Harvard's admissions policies, quoting Harvard's admissions statistics?
Because of the impact that it has.
What kind of, with all due respect, you're asking me why I'm allowed to discuss Harvard statistics? That's a retarded question. Maybe I didn't answer it yet because your question is stupid, you fat fuck, you old fat fuck. You ever think of that? Man, Nathan Cofnas needs to like have an inner gangster mode that he pulls out like just at the most random places.
Question.
Okay. Well,
I would totally support him, for the record.
I don't have to answer why I question the questions I asked to you, thank you. I do that because I'm representing the listeners who've all called in to me. Why do you suppose there's such a level of opposition to your appointment at Cambridge in the first place?
Well, there was opposition last year. There was a petition to have me fired based on a peer-reviewed paper.
I'm reading online. You found it difficult to get a post in the United States as well. If that's true, why do you suppose there's such global opposition to you, Doctor?
I mean, there's a certain orthodoxy and political sensitivities that prevail, and so people who question orthodoxy at all times.
So it never dawns on you that you might possibly be in the wrong, in that you can't get a post in the United States, and when you come to Cambridge, students protest.
There was like global opposition to Copernicus and people like that too at the time. You know that, right? You know that a lot of scientists throughout all of history have been told that they were wrong, and not just like intellectually wrong, but they were what's the word I'm looking for? They were othered. They were mocked. They were ruthlessly mocked and derided.
Test against you. That's all their fault, not yours, Doctor.
So,
all right, let's boil it down to a simple
I
one.
Engage carefully.
Okay, should well-educated folk like yourself, which undoubtedly you will be, do you have greater rights than others to exercise freedom of speech?
Well, that's a question of law. And there are certainly principles of, say, journalists that apply to journalists or academics to explore.
No, but I'm asking about topics. You, Doctor. No, my journalist.
Look, that's a question. I can't comment on English law. I'm not a lawyer.
All right. Okay. Thank you for your time. Dr. Nathan Cofnas is a Leverhulme Early Career Fellow in the Faculty of Philosophy at the University of Cambridge. He's the one who is facing possible expulsion. Just to say what one of the only black heads of an Uxbridge college has said, he's an abhorrent racist, is abhorrent racism. This is abhorrent racism masquerading as pseudo-intellect.
What a piece of shit host. Damn. What are people saying about this one on X.com? The worst interview I've ever seen makes Kathy Newman look like Tyler Cowen. I don't know who Tyler Cowen is, but I do know who Kathy Newman is. This is the guy, Nick Ferrali, LBC. The job of an interviewer is to pose questions and let the interviewee respond, then challenge them with follow-up questions. Yeah, key word phrase there being let the interviewee respond. Ferrari seems to totally ignore any principle of free speech in this exchange, proposing that the student finding the professor offensive is enough to end the pursuit of truth and knowledge. Yeah, Cofnas could have done a lot better job arguing against that part. The whole end there where it's like, what do you say to people who get offended? But it's, you know, he is an autistic academic. He's not a debate bro. It is what it is. So anyway, we looked at this tweet a while ago where he announced he got suspended. This was on August 20th. Somebody else replied, said, should we start investigating Petra de Sutter for plagiarism? And Nathan Cofnas said, she used ChatGPT to write her inaugural speech. It was full of fabricated quotes. Now, the replies are full of people being like, she? Really? You're using the preferred pronouns? But there was another deleted tweet, because this is the person. There was another a tweet of somebody who replied to this and said, oh, wow, great strategy, dude. Just accuse the person investigating you of the same thing that you're being investigated for, which is accusing people of, right? You're getting investigated for accusing people of plagiarism. Why don't you just accuse the person investigating you of being a plagiarist? And the tweet got community noted because this person this troon was caught using AI, which cost him like an appointment, an honorary degree or something like that. UGent Chancellor Petra de Sutter caught using AI in opening speech. The software used by de Sutter hallucinated certain information, leading to incorrect quotes from Albert Einstein, among others. The university has since acknowledged and corrected the errors. Dogma is the enemy of progress, or knowledge describes and controls reality. Wisdom seeks answers to existential questions and is connected to culture and ethics, are just a few examples of quotes that appeared in the speech. The first was attributed to Albert Einstein, the second to Paul Verhoeven. However you say that. Petra de Sutter, the trans rector of Ghent University and stout defender of Jason Arday, had to withdraw from receiving an honorary doctorate from the University of Amsterdam after it emerged that a speech he delivered contained fabricated quotations. So there's your Cofnas update. You were suspended by a trans Marxist who used ChatGPT to write his inaugural speech. Just remarkable how utterly broken everything is in the academy. Yeah. And that brings us to our next story, which is Hasan Piker singing the We Are Charlie Kirk song mockingly at one of these, I guess, presumably DSA rallies or whatever. I don't know exactly what this is at.
He stood unshaken, a voice in the storm, a man of conviction, a heart reborn. He spoke the truth when the world was high. He lived for Jesus, unafraid to die.
Okay, that's enough of that. And then people were posting how like there's only like one time that Hasan ever interacted with Charlie Kirk, and they're saying that Hasan got mogged.
What's up, Charlie? How you doing?
You gotta send me commission on all the YouTube videos you make about me.
Anyway,
So Charlie Kirk came up, and I think this was at a TPUSA event maybe, but don't quote me on that. Or it was like CPAC or something like that. Charlie Kirk comes up and he's like, you got to send me commission on all the videos you make about me. And Hasan's like, it looks so awkward. And Charlie Kirk just like walks away.
What's up, Charlie? How you doing?
You gotta send me commission on all the YouTube videos you make about me.
Anyway,
I don't know if it's that brutal, but that's what a lot of people were saying. Charlie big leagued him, and he's been a salty little bitch about it ever since. Hasan turns into a giant pussy when confronted in person. Absolute mogging. It does show you something, doesn't it? Says Dave Green, the distributist. Who's this guy? Already got him blocked. I don't like how it shows you people you blocked, but like, what's the point of blocking? Isn't the whole point I don't have to look at you? Hasan Piker hated Charlie Kirk because commies have no swag. What people often point out about Charlie was how humble he was given all the fame and attention. Okay, I'm not reading all that. Moving on. Hasan posted this picture, carried the flame tonight, which I guess this is like the lyric from the song about Charlie Kirk. He goes, carried the flame tonight. And this has 9 million impressions, which is like a lot of impressions, right? And I was like, wow. And then I realized all of those impressions came from Clavicular dunking on him on X. Clavicular said, you need a tailor. Let me buy you a proper suit. Life-changing experience. That's got 6 million views. And the way quote tweets work is the views like trickle down, not 100%, but it's like about 90% usually, generally speaking. So like 5.5 million of these views came from that Clavicular tweet. And then Clavicular quote tweeted the same picture again and said, leftist biggest mistake was not embracing me. The optics of this pic are terra brutal. Crowd looks like an incel IRL meetup. And that one has 4.5 million views. So all of those views basically came from Clavicular Twitter mogging Hasan. Yeah, 6 million.
You just got mocked to death.
Remember when Hasan called the police on Sam Hyde? Did he actually? I didn't know he called the police. And then the Fight Back podcast account, which apparently is not run by Jake Shields, but they posted that Hasan Piker is a Masonic, he's like a Mason. And in this picture, he's doing what is a Masonic hand gesture and wearing a Masonic ring. So I don't really have, this is AI altered, is it? I don't really have like strong opinions on the whole Masonic thing. But I know some of you guys do, so I just thought I would touch on that real quick. Yeah, painted nails. Now that is something I have strong opinions on. A gay. And then we were talking about Dean Withers, who was accused of rape. And at first, none of his leftist guy friends defended him. They have since come around because the allegations have been really proven to be false. Like, because they were using some girl's pictures and that girl came forward and was like, no, I don't know Dean Withers. But I was saying, like, we can convert Dean Withers. We can make this guy a right winger. When he sees how nobody comes to his defense, he's going to realize he's on the wrong side. And now you got like this weird leftist freak. Look at this absolute demon here, full of facial piercings, talking about Charlie Kirking Dean Withers.
This one goes out to Dean Withers. You might recognize this one. Here we go. Hey there, Dean Withers, what's it like debating Trumpies? I'm 1,000 miles away, but tonight you look so Kirky, yes you do. I hope your neck don't hurty too, Oh, Charlie Kirky. Oh, Charlie Kirky. Oh, Charlie Kirky. Oh, Charlie Kirky.
This is the song about killing Dean Withers for not being enough of a dysgenic freak, I guess. I don't really know what the issue is. Dean Withers famously cried when Charlie Kirk got murdered. He broke down crying, and maybe that's why he needs to die. I don't know. I'm just speculating here. Who knows what goes on inside the mind of a drug-addled, estrogen-taking freak. Who could say? And Parker, who is Dean Withers' friend, had a debate with some old guy about putting your hands down girls' pants. I already played like 3 minutes of this one. I thought this was really funny, personally.
Didn't you get accused of date rape?
Nope.
Never?
Nope.
You never went out with a girl?
Never got accused of that.
You've never gone out with a girl, because if you had, you'd be accused of date rape. That's funny because that's like basically true. It's not a 1-to-1, but if you go out with like enough girls, you will eventually.
No.
You will eventually catch a rape charge. It's LP's law. Every woman you add to your stable, whatever. Not that you have to be dating them, but you know what I mean. Your resume, they all eventually you come closer and closer to getting a rape charge.
No, but you've
even without ever doing a rape.
Never been out with a woman?
Yes, I have been out with a woman before.
Did you put your hands in her pants?
No.
This old guy cracks me up. You've never been out with a woman? He's like, yeah, I have. Well, did you put your hands in her pants? And he goes, and Parker goes, no, I didn't put my hands in her pants.
Not on a date, sir.
You never got in a girl's pants?
I'm not going to talk to you about what I've done sexually anyway.
Well, if
why are you
did, then
asking me, sir? Why are you asking?
Because that's the same thing Dean did. He got in trouble for rape because
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. That was
in a little girl's pants.
Olive. That never happened. That was completely made up, and that's been proven to have been made up. That was made up by a MAGA individual that doesn't like Trump, doesn't like Dean because he calls out Trump for the fact that he was held civilly liable of sexually abusing a woman. That account specifically was using a picture of a minor in Europe that came out and made a video saying that wasn't her.
Yeah, but I mean, you say you've never been on a date.
I've been on a date before.
Have you ever put your hands in a woman's pants?
It's so funny. He's like, comes back to this thing. Yeah, well, you're the one claiming you've never been on a date. No, I have. Okay, did you put your hands in her pants?
Sir, I'm not talking to you about anything that I've done. I don't know why you're asking me.
Because that's date rape. That's when you do things without asking.
Well, no,
I wish.
Wait, sir, I
wish I had time to sit around and call these guys and troll the shit out of them. It would be fun, honestly, but it just, who has the time?
Never once touched someone's vagina without asking.
Are you sure?
100% positive. Do you do that, sir?
Do you have a list of your girlfriends that you've
Olive, do you do that?
Oh, I don't know. I've heard a lot of people do
Wait,
that.
no. Do you do that?
Oh, I don't know. I think.
What do you mean you don't
I
fucking
did.
know?
When I was your age, we probably all did that, yeah.
No, what the fuck are you talking about? What you're admitting to being a rapist right now?
Do you ask?
Are you admitting to being a rapist right now?
No, do you ask to go to second base?
Sir, are you admitting to being a rapist?
He's saying that's the second time he's called it second base. That's third base, dude. Second base is up the shirt. Down the pants is third base. Olive.
No, I'm saying that you're a date rapist.
Yes, but there is clarified consent before you touch people's private parts. Yes.
So when you're on a date, you say, "Can I put my hand on your pussy?" Is that what you
Sir,
ask?
there are things clarified. I'm not going to tell you exactly what I say, but I do clarify and ask for consent. Yes.
Can you prove that?
What? What, do you want me to fucking record it when I do it? Like, what are you talking about, sir?
I mean, can you
what do
give
you
me
mean
a
prove
list?
that I've done that? What does that fucking mean?
Can you give me a list of girlfriends that you've had?
I'm not going to tell you the list of people I've dated in my life.
Do you
is that
think
so you can put it in your diary so that you can think about it every night?
No.
No, we need to talk to the girls and make sure you never put your hands down their pants without consent, Parker. This is simple. This is not rocket science. We need to know whether or not you're putting your hands down people's pants without asking first.
Do you think that
what are you doing?
If your
This is really creepy, bro.
If your ex-girlfriends would be watching today, they would say that you asked them to put your hands in their pants before you did?
Yeah, every single person that I've ever been with sexually in my life would be able to tell you that I've asked for consent prior to doing anything sexually with them. Yes, absolutely.
Did you ask them to kiss them first?
Sir, I get consent before I engage. That's what I do.
You promise on a stack of Bibles?
I'm not Christian, but yeah.
So, have you ever slept with a man?
No. Why are you asking me? Is this like for your like spank bank later, or like what are you doing?
No, because I'm trying to see why they accused Dean. If
it was a Trump supporter that created an account to try to make Dean look bad because he calls
Get consent before you make eye contact. Is it okay if I look you in the eyes now?
Trump for being a rapist.
No, why would it be a Trump supporter?
Because the account was proven to be fake.
No, but why do you immediately blame the Trump supporter?
Because they do that already all the time. They do that on the stream all the time.
Joseph Goebbels sent $3 on Power Chat. Charlie Kirk spent his life trying to get leftards to join neoconservatism to destroy the populist right. Also, I went to a top 25 school and will tell you there's nothing to be gained from the academy. Total waste of time.
Correct on both counts. Thank you. Look, so this guy, he's making a point.
Gabber sent $3 on Power Chat. Magic is evil. Masons are evil. Cabalifergoys. They hate the natural order. They fraternize, consolidate power, and do rituals. They manipulate the future. Certainly evil scum that stands in direct opposition to all things good.
Thank you. I was thinking about the big tech conversation I had on Saturday because he called into the show and I was like, but does he really think people are doing spells like that? Because he was like, he's the kind of guy who's like, oh, you believe like a snake talked in the Bible or what, you know what I mean? And it's like, well, how do you believe in magic, but you think God can't do things that would be considered magic? Anyway, I was thinking about that because I was wondering in hindsight if he was just kind of like trolling me because he wanted me to say I believe in magic. Anyway, I don't know. I don't know what you can do with magic. I'm not a magician, so I'm kind of agnostic, as I explained to him. I know people definitely like do rituals and cast spells, but like, does it actually do anything?
Anonymous sent $10 on Power Chat. Dave the Distributist told Cofnas that he does not understand the assignment with regards to the debating the orthodoxy. Highly recommend this 30 minutes. Schooling moral versus factual.
Thank you for the $10. Not going to watch that video right now, but thank you. I do like Dave. I'm sure I probably would agree if I watched.
Oh. Okay.
So the old man is making this point about how, like, you know, back in the day, if you're making out with a woman and you want to have sex with her, you try to put your hands down her pants. And then if she like, here's the thing, you don't instantly put your hands down somebody's pants. It's kind of a process, which then the woman will know what you're doing. And if she doesn't want you to do that, she'll stop you and she'll be like, no, no, no. And that's how it used to work back in the day, which then meant you had to like try a little harder to convince her. If she wanted to play hard to get, that meant you just had to convince her to let you. That's what the old guy is saying. But according to Parker, it's like if you don't ask before you try to make a move, that's rape. That's like the old school versus the new school.
But you don't think you'll ever be a...
I think I've told this story at least once before, and I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but one time at a rave, we were talking about raves the other day too, because somebody called in about that. One time at a rave, I made like eye contact with a girl, and it was kind of flirty. And we were like walking the same direction, but she was ahead of me and she kept like looking back at me like flirtily. And then she went to like go into like the woman's washroom and she kind of like was pushing the door open and like looking at me. And I like walked up to her, pushed her through the door up against the wall and started kissing her. And at first she was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. But then she like started kissing me back. No words, just look and then action. But then this is like the sad part of the story. I like freaked out in the middle of, I was like, what the fuck am I doing right now? I was high on drugs, of course. And I was kind of like, what am I doing right now? And so I kind of like backed off and then she said, thank you. And then she ran into the bathroom and then I like left. And I never saw her again.
Used to date rape you?
That's how we used to do it in my day, Parker.
You don't like sex, right?
Wait, so
you don't like sex, right?
I'm confused why you think that someone doesn't like sex if they are against unconsensually sexually touching people. That makes no sense.
No, but I'm saying...
I don't like to tell that story because it sounds kind of made up, but it's 100% true story. That was me in a way. It could have been. That's the thing. That's the thing. That's the thing about raves. No, the scene wasn't really that tuned out back then. That's what I said that to the guy who called in to ask me about raves. You didn't really see that.
Take a poll and see how many people have been on a date and put their hands in a woman's pants without asking.
Yeah, that's rape.
That's rape.
No, the point I'm trying to make, Parker, is you can't rape the willing. That'd be so funny if the guy said that. Parker, you can't rape the willing. They just let you do it. If they let you do it, then it's okay.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. So
yeah,
you
have to clarify consent, sir.
When you're in high school, do you have to do that too?
Yes.
Did you do that when you were in high school?
Yeah. The fuck?
You asked the girl to put your hands in their pants?
Sure, before I did anything sexually.
I love how it's always put the hands in the pants. It's not like have sex. It's not like grab a titty. It's always, that's like the line. Everything up until that's when you're crossing the line, right? It's like you can make out a little heavy petting, but when you go for the inside of the pants, that's when you're getting into rape territory.
I asked for consent before.
Have you ever had a girl touch you without asking?
No.
What'd they say? Can I touch your penis or can I?
Why are you asking? Why are you asking? Do you want to add this to your spank bank for later?
No, I want to put that down there for.
Why are you asking about my sexual experiences when I was a high schooler? That's fucking gross and weird and creepy.
Because we're trying to see if we can get your.
No, like seriously, that is so creepy for you to ask me about my sexual experiences as a high schooler.
Well, we're trying to see if we.
What
can
type
get
of weird
you
fucking
accused.
questions is this, dude?
Do you want to be accused like Dean so you'd be more popular?
Sir, can you fucking actually give me a reason why you support Trump instead of doing all of this random bullshit that you know is false? Are you Christian?
Because he's
Tucker,
the
are
one
you
that-
Christian?
I would say so. Yes.
Yeah. Do you have to? Is it a sin to lie?
Do I sin a lot?
Is it a sin to lie?
Is it a sin to lie? Well, apparently it is because
One situation I missed out. Yeah, dude, for every story like that, I have at least 3 or 4 where I didn't make the move. And then in hindsight, it's like, you could have. That's one of those things like you regret at the time. But now that I'm older and married, I don't care anymore. In fact, if anything, it's just like every sexual encounter is just another chance to get an STD, basically, in hindsight. It's really not like I don't look back and I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I had sex with all those women or whatever. I'm just glad I didn't catch an STD. So when I think about the women where I could have, but I didn't, and some of them were really good looking, but I'm just like, I don't regret it in hindsight. I'm not like, oh man, I fucked up there.
God says don't lie, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, or pregnant, STD or pregnant. Yeah, I will say I always wore condoms. I always was smart in that way when I was having hookups. So
are you telling me the truth?
Not that that's
when
100% reliable, but definitely better than not.
Say that you think that any of those accusations are credible?
I think that you lie when you say that you didn't put your hands down somebody's pants.
Admit it, Parker. You put your hands down someone's pants and you didn't ask.
Sir, are you telling me that you've done that?
I think probably when I was a teenager.
So you did that without someone's consent?
Oh, we probably did, yeah.
There it is. He's a rapist. Parker's like crying. He's thinking about this old guy as a teenager putting his hands down someone's pants, and he's just like overwhelmed with the horror.
Dude, just the genuinely, it's just so fucking gross, dude. So fucking gross, man. What is wrong with people, man?
Can't believe that old man admitted to putting his hands down someone's pants. All right, the postpartum thing. I told you guys about this study. Here it is. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I'll just give you the Cole's notes. This study, it's one study conducted in 2025. Take it for what you will. Is the sample size in the abstract? I don't see it scanning through, but it found that women who lost their virginity at younger ages were more likely to have postpartum depression, and also women who had more sexual partners were more likely to have postpartum depression. Significant negative causal relationship with age of first sex, and positive causal link between life number sexual partners and postpartum depression. So basically, postpartum depression is regretful roasty syndrome. Basically. Which brings us to Michael Tracy, who has been defending Lindsay Clancey and her supporters a lot. He's posts stuff like this. Guys now want Lindsay Clancey locked up in prison for life to satiate some weird gender war argument they're having online. It's all about retributive sadism, definitely not public safety or deterrence. No one needs to be deterred to know that killing little children is bad. It's so stupid, man. The reason you have punitive justice is not to educate people that it's wrong. It's because they don't want the punishment. That's where the deterrence is. You put people, you should kill child murderers. They should be executed. And the reason you execute them is because people don't want to be executed. That's how it's a deterrence. This doesn't make any sense. And if you follow through that logic, like, why punish anything ever? Why punish pedophiles and rapists and murderers? Everybody already knows those things are bad. I mean, it's just so shockingly stupid. And then he gets on, he does this like 4-way hug box podcast with 3 women who all agree with him, including Radfem Hitler. And I wanted to listen to a little bit. It's 90 minutes. I don't want to listen to the whole thing, but Richard Spencer like shows up at one point.
As I was saying, if anybody is now watching, none of us really know each other. I just kind of wanted to vent about this Lindsay Clancey thing in an unstructured format, which I get the sense that a lot of women are also wanting to do at the moment.
I'm going to pop this lozenge. Sorry, guys. I had one before the show and Allison started laughing. And I was like, what's so funny? And she's trying to tell me, but she's laughing so hard. She's having a hard time telling me, but she's like saying that she was thinking about how the CIA could use the sound of me sucking on lozenges to break terrorists. I thought that was a bit mean.
Yes.
Men just want to kind of bloviate and spout cliches that belie any original thought about anything. So I wanted to surround myself with the fairer sex for this discussion.
The crazy thing about it is I was so far away from her. Like, she was across the room.
Particular. Okay, I'll just throw out a thought. What's driving me crazy about it is an extension of what I just sort of flippantly said there, which is that there are so many people, there's a minority of women who'll say this, but it's overwhelmingly men. And I'm not somebody who's like really that into framing things in these terms by and large. Okay. So this is pretty aberrational for me.
Oh, by the way, it's one thing to talk about gender war slop, which is like a pitfall to watch out for. That was Uncle Groiper called in on Saturday and he was like, women are bad because they abort their kids. And I was like, well, okay, but what are you going to do with that? You know what I mean? But he also says like, that's why we want Lindsay Clancey locked up, is to satiate, because we all hate women. And so it's like to get our catharsis from seeing a woman. It's like, no, she killed her kids, retard. That's why we want her locked up at the minimum, because she's a triple murderer, you fucking idiot.
But what I can't help but notice is that the stock answer among a certain type of man, not all men, okay, hashtag, but everybody knows who I'm, like what I'm, the prototypical guy I'm referring to, is that like they don't even have to have any information about the details of the case. All they need to know is
I literally don't. All I need to know is you murdered 3 children. That's all I need to know, literally. Steel man. He's steel manning me right now.
The most visceral baseline piece of data, which everybody knows and can learn in like half a second, which is that she killed the 3 children. Okay. Yeah, we know that, but there's a reason that this has been investigated for 3.5.
Yeah, but have you ever wondered why she had to kill the 5-year-old and the 8-month-old? No, actually, really don't care. I don't negotiate with demons.
5 years, and that there's now a trial, and that the government is now presenting a case where they are obliged to satisfy the elements of a particular statute or a particular offense, which is first-degree murder. Like, it seems like, everybody just wants to say, oh, all I need to know is she killed the children and that's it. She should hang. We should behead her on the spot.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so like, does that mean get rid of the Constitution in the name of like winning this weird gender war you're fighting on the internet? That really bothers me because there'll be other.
How's that getting rid of the Constitution? When people are saying should be executed, I think it's safe to, I think in all fairness to those people, that's on the assumption that she's actually guilty of the crime, right? I don't even know what he meant by getting rid of the Constitution, but I assume he means like you don't get a fair trial. That's not what people aren't saying like, I don't care if she's guilty or not, we should just kill her. Like, that's not what anybody means when they say that.
Of issues where the same sort of person will be very much insistent on really having a comprehensive grasp of the relevant details before weighing in so cavalierly. I don't know, Kyle Rittenhouse, okay? Like, if they mocked everybody for like thinking that
Bro, I love like listening to these people because this is like the same thing with Ian Carroll being like, oh, you think Tyler Robinson is guilty and you also think Lindsay Clancey is guilty. Interesting. It's like, yeah, I'm right twice. That's not that weird, actually, that I'm correct on 2 different. Same thing. Like, oh, you want Lindsay Clancey executed for killing her 3 children, but you didn't want to kill Kyle Rittenhouse when he acted in self-defense against a violent mob. What is the argument here? That Lindsay Clancey was acting in self-defense? Was her 8-month-old baby trying to shoot her? You fucking dummy.
that Kyle Rittenhouse committed this mortal sin because he crossed state lines from Michigan.
Oh, well, if he was talking about repeal the 19th, that's like kind of a leap. That has nothing to do with whether or not we should execute Lindsay Clancey. But the reason people are talking about repeal the 19th, other than that, that's obviously the best thing we could do for humanity, and we've known that for years and years, is that it's because of so many women are defending Lindsay Clancey, and they're saying, I stand with Lindsay and shit. And so you're like, oh, wow, women are retarded. Maybe they shouldn't vote.
Into Wisconsin, whatever it was, like it became a whole cliche. But here, like, you don't need to know, for instance, that like literally there's been no evidence presented by the prosecution, which wants to put her in prison for the rest of her life, that she ever exhibited any traits throughout the duration of her life that would suggest that she had this like sinister homicidal, secret that she was hiding, and that she would then fake this extreme mental distress or psychosis in order to do like what exactly? Like, what's the motive that's even being posited beyond an extreme psychotic episode in terms of why she killed the children? She just like became a homicidal maniac. Like, they don't even have to think about it on that level, because all they need to know is that they killed the children. And for them, like, they think it's like a brave moral stance.
She could have been a totally normal person who got prescribed pills, and then the pills made her insane and she killed her kids. Yes, I can grant all of that. I don't know. None of us know what was going on in her mind. It doesn't matter. You have to punish that kind of crime. There can't be any excuses for that. There can't be any get out of jail free card when you murder 3 children. Period.
To regard the whole
that's on period
matter as having been solved if they can just like repeat that little slogan, and then you defend killing babies and toddlers if you like.
And we can totally have a discussion about pharmaceuticals and SSRIs, and are they good for society? Should they even be legal? Again, I'm kind of agnostic on that. I don't know. Like, if we outlawed all SSRIs, would that be good for society? Honestly, my gut says yes, if I'm being honest. A lot of these people need to learn how to just fucking cope with reality. Okay? A lot of you bitches, maybe you should learn how to cope. That's the thing. It's like, we pretend like it's normal for people to need to be medicated to exist. But look, the reason I say I'm agnostic is I'm willing to grant that there are maybe some people who it does help them cope or whatever. And you have like schizophrenics who like would kill if they weren't on medication. Apparently, that's the narrative anyways. That's what I'm told. I'm told there's like a kind of person who, if you medicate them, they're not going to do something crazy. Maybe that's true. I don't know.
Maybe want to add some additional color. I mean, that's just a brief summary of what's driving me crazy. So whoever wants to go first, RFH, since you were here first.
Yeah, I had the same thought, particularly just because of all of the character witness like testimony in regards to her. Everyone says repeatedly the same thing. Like, she was like a loving, doting mother. If anything, she was like really anxious and worried about their well-being. I mean, the day of, she was taking her daughter to the doctor, for a consultation.
And building snowmen.
Yeah, and building snowmen with her kids. They took that like last photo of them. It's so sad. But yeah, this is just, I don't think it adds up that she just is this homicidal person who like wanted to kill her children. The only thing that makes sense, given all that information, is that she genuinely did have a psychotic episode, and it's really tragic. But yeah, I've been getting really exhausted at this idea that I don't know, women are just on a homicidal rampage and we all just want to kill our children, and everyone supporting her wants to murder babies. Like, that women secretly all want to kill their kids.
Yeah, well, I mean, just to interject real quick, okay? So, in the vast kind of panoply of human experience, it's theoretically possible that there could be some woman or mother out there.
Guys, who's hotter, Radfem Hitler or Rachel Wilson? Remember when she wouldn't go on camera? She was supposed to debate Rachel Wilson, and then The debate got canceled because Radfem Hitler like refused to go on camera. Is that her? It's not fair to compare like here. We need like a candid, not an Instagram made up picture. Okay, so Radfem Hitler, Rachel Wilson. They kind of look smashed.
Joseph Goebbels sent $3 on Power Chat. Sorry, Chud. The heckin' piece of paper says you can kill your 3 kids. Anything from the Spencer, RFH, etc. sphere is just rage bait at best and contrarian low IQ takes at worst. The edgy teenagers of political discourse.
Look, I get where they're coming from, but it's totally shit-lib brained. This idea of like, oh, she just needs the proper help and support. She just needs the right doctors, the right medication. You know, I talked about this in my my review of the movie 28 years later, The Bone Temple, because that was really the theme of the movie, if you were paying attention, is that there is no such thing as evil. You just need the right cocktail of meds to get your head right. Anybody who would do evil just doesn't have the right medical cocktail. And I'm not saying Lindsay Clancey was evil. That's not the point. But what she did was evil. And you cannot have allowances for that kind of thing. Evil has to be punished, whether you're in your right head or not, or whether you're possessed by a demon or not. Whatever it is, there's certain things just have to be punished.
Who genuinely is like an extreme, like Lindsay's already an extreme outlier in what she did, but like maybe there could be an even more extreme outlier where there really is some mother who, like, I don't know, is sadistic or psychotic or like just kills children. I mean, it's right, theoretically possible. I think it's an idiotic baseline assumption to have. Yeah,
that has happened. So what point are we making now that also those people should not be punished?
But like,
because he said even if she was sadistic. So what? Even if, so what?
Would have to provide like some smidgen of evidence for it at some point, and there's none with her. But they don't care, I guess. Like, it doesn't matter what the evidentiary record shows.
It's not. I don't care, really. I don't care what your motive is for killing kids. There's certain things where it just doesn't matter. You know, again, take like a pedophile and be like, well, yeah, but, okay, so he raped a bunch of children, but what was his motive? What was his headspace at the time? It's like there's a certain point where these questions become moot. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I want to interject too. Like, listen, I think in all cases like this, let's take her aside. It captivates people because it goes, let's be honest, it goes against the crime, the laws of nature. I mean, you know, it's killing, like, it's very visceral. Progeny. It's also a trial. So in a trial, there's evidence presented on both sides. And I don't, you know, this is a very, I don't get sunk in the social media sphere of some of this simplistic thinking because it is a trial and that's what happens. You get to have evidence presented on both sides. But the act itself, I don't fault anyone for like I said, it goes against the law. Like, people cannot conceive of that kind of act. Gotcha. But
absolutely,
yeah. I mean, but it's what I think trials can do, such as this one, is lay out a picture, as we are, of not just her, but also the care she did receive, not receive, and all the different players in it. That's the kind of discussion I think women are having too, people in general. Because
by all accounts, she received as much care as you possibly could, right? So it's not one of these things of like she didn't have support. She had nannies. She went to like a fucking medical institute at one point. You know, they're saying, oh, there's no evidence anywhere that she was sadistic, but there's apparently, I haven't followed this super closely, but apparently there was quite a lot of evidence that she was insane and that she had mental health issues. Anyway, it's kind of pointless to do something like this where all four people agree with each other. But Richard Spencer doesn't agree, so let's skip ahead to where Big Dicky Spencer joins the call.
I sympathize with, you said something like, Anna, that people are really uncomfortable with mental health or whatever. I don't know. There's been a sea change in common attitudes toward acceptance of mental health issues to the degree where I have been of the mind in recent years that there's kind of been a little bit of an overcorrection where, like, in tearing down the stigma, we kind of encouraged.
Yeah, this is what I was saying. A lot of these people, they really do just need to learn how to cope with reality.
Everybody to, like, integrate some mental illness they can either self-diagnose or get a very casual, like, not.
What's on his shirt? That is cum. He was masturbating and then he shot his load. No, sorry, that's gross. No, it's spit up from the baby. So he was looking after the baby, and then Radfem Hitler left to go look after the baby, and he's got baby spit on his shirt, which is a thing that can happen.
Shift Demeanor sent $5 on Rumble. She was a registered nurse. She knew the avenues to get help if she really wanted it.
Yeah.
Not particularly.
Thank you.
Exacting diagnosis and integrate it into their identities. And, I remember, like, 2014 in my hometown, New Jersey, signs went up saying, such and such town it's a stigma-free town, which I thought, hey, it's kind of nice. Why not? Like, if we're going to have, like, civically funded signs to put up, seems like a nice message. But then, not too long thereafter, again, the overcorrection just became a bit too much. So I have been inclined to sympathize with people who would use some circumspection when
Spencer could do better. Well, have you guys seen Spencer lately? I actually don't know if this picture is real or AI. It's taken with a grain of salt. But did you guys see this? This went, like, viral on Twitter when it was posted. Is that real, chat? Grok, is that real? Now, compare that to this. Does that look real? Hard to tell. Hard to tell because it's like, you have to see the midsection. That's got to be AI, right?
They hear a purported mental health.
He got kicked out of a gym in 2017. So that was where it all started to go downhill. Richard Spencer kicked out of gym. In 2017, white nationalist Richard Spencer had his membership revoked. Alt-right leader Richard Spencer loses gym membership. So that was where it all went wrong, I think. Now here we are, 2026. Yeah, it's just the baby weight.
Condition being cited to justify something or other. However, at the same time, there is even though, like, there are some people who are like, want to have an online identity around, like, some weird diagnosis that maybe they picked up on a meme or something or TikTok. That doesn't mean there isn't legitimate medically demonstrable psychosis that some minority of people will occasionally get swept into, and it is very disturbing and needs some kind of intervention. I don't know what the correct psychiatric intervention necessarily would have been with Lindsay, but so that's why this issue is kind of like it throws off a lot of assumptions for a lot of people, because on a lot of things that have gone on in the recent past around just the frivolousness of how mental health diagnoses get doled out and then turn into this, like, identity trait. I would.
Richard looks like his eyes are glazing over, and I was just thinking to myself, like, this is so fucking boring. This is so boring.
Been on the more skeptical side, but here it's just so almost inarguable.
Yeah, Richard Spencer and Radfem Hitler have a child, which is so funny to me. It's so weird. That's so weird.
That she really was in this, like, 1 in a million psychiatric distress. Otherwise, her actions just like make no sense at any level. Like, well, tell me, what was the motive, if not her psychosis? Like, I just don't get it.
Well, look, either she had a psychosis and she just went insane and didn't know what she was doing and had no control, or she wanted to murder her kids, which, why does any woman do that? They're sick of the responsibility. They're sick of their lives being basically dictated by these little children who require constant. It's not rocket science. Why would a woman kill her kids if she did it on purpose? Happens all the fucking time, actually. So, yeah, what is the motive? Murder. The motive is not wanting to be a mom. That's the motive.
I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
I don't know. Anna? No, Anna, you go.
Right, spiting the husband. Yes, thank you. That's another one. They do it. They get it. They hate the husband and they just want to hurt him, the father. Yes, that's another potential motive.
Go ahead.
But I don't care. Motive is mostly you go after that to try to prove the person is guilty. If you know they're guilty for other reasons, then I don't really care what the motive is. Like, the motive doesn't really affect the punishment that much.
I mean, we have diagnoses for a reason. Like I can't speak to, this.
Right. You look for motive when you're trying to prove who committed the murder, but you don't base the punishment on what was the motive. In some cases, it can matter more than others, right? If a wife kills a super abusive husband and you can prove he was super abusive, then maybe you weigh that in on the punishment a little bit. But in most cases, it's not really super relevant.
I want to identify, there's a lot of people who want to use their diagnosis as a crutch, maybe. I don't know. Or, this is how I identify in the world. Okay. But when you're talking about, having a serious mental illness, disease, it is a disease. There are tools out there. I would say tools, plural, work on her.
Little eyes, so that she has
he's just there to look at the camera like Jim from The Office.
The fifth child, it's the first girl. She has the idea. I cycle like my early 140 character Twitter. And so I don't know. It was just like a firsthand insight into how seemingly arbitrarily this stuff can be handed out. Not that I had no assessment at all, but just not something that I think back on as sufficient to justify that sort of dispensing of medication. I just don't think so.
Michael Tracy is the most boring person who ever lived. I'm sorry, everyone.
Try to get in the mind of a psychopath. Chris Watts murdered his family, from what I can tell, simply to move on. He wanted to wipe the slate clean, and he had a new hot girlfriend. And sometimes they're sort of reptilian. They think in a brutal way that makes us.
Yeah, he's making a good point here, which is that everybody who commits mass murder is kind of obviously mentally ill. That's part of the problem when you start to say well, they weren't in their right mind. Why would they do that? It doesn't make any sense. You just kill a bunch of people. It's well, yeah, you could apply that to anybody. Right. And this is what Nick was saying when he was talking about it. He's going, how come nobody asks whether or not Elliot Rodgers was getting the proper support that he needed? Right. Nobody ever says that when it's a guy. Nobody ever says, he wasn't getting the support he needed. The system failed him. They let him down. They just say, kill this incel freak.
Us just boggles our minds.
And all murder is wrong, but killing your own young children, is worse than what Elliot Rogers did. And killing your own children is particularly fucked up. It's like that one woman said, it just goes against all laws of nature to do something like that.
Makes us blush. So all I'm saying is that
the system failed Dylan Roof. Exactly. No one says that.
I agree. I think it's totally fair to assume that.
Oh yeah, somebody tweeted Hitler had postpartum. It might have been Captive Dreamer, actually. Kind of a funny tweet.
How?
Kind of, but not really, because it's implying that what Hitler did is wrong. So I actually don't like that tweet. But in the context, I get the joke. But it does imply that what Hitler did was wrong. Which let's maybe not do that.
Why would she do something like this? She must have had a psychotic break from reality. I think that's totally fair to your operating assumption. Just saying, you also have to reasonably consider that this was a psychopath who acted out in aggression, maybe even aggression against her husband, that I'm going to get you back kind of thing. For perhaps having,
but there's no evidence though of that. I mean, it's theoretically possible.
This
Sure.
is what
There's no evidence of that in Lindsay's
Sure.
case.
Yeah.
There's no animosity with the husband that anybody can discern.
Yeah.
No evidence that effective has been presented. Like there's no. I mean, the Dr. Resnick yesterday, right? He kind of has developed these 5 categories of filicide.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the term?
Yeah.
Yeah. And he says
infanticide. What is filicide? Is that killing your son specific? Infanticide is killing children. Is filicide killing your own children?
Is that there are 3 categories that don't apply to Lindsay at all. It could be animosity toward the spouse is so extreme that the killer takes it out on the children. That's happened.
Killing your own.
It could be hostility of some kind toward the children themselves. And there's one more that I'm not forgetting, but like what she said, what he says,
altruistic is
altruistic filicide is that she's doing it out of love for them, and like I don't see any indication anywhere. I mean the prosecutions had 3.5 years to investigate this. They've called all. I mean they've called up every first responder to like go through, their evaluation of the traumatic crime scene. Like they've had a lot of time to like gather every conceivable bit of evidence, and they've just found nothing that there was any real problem with the husband, that she was anything but a normal, caring, loving mother to the children. I mean, what reason would the former husband's?
If I ever had a psychotic break and killed my kids, I'm saying this now of my right mind, I would be okay with being please kill me if I ever do that. If I ever just have a random psychotic break and then kill my own kids, I think I should be put to death, even if I had no self-control or awareness or whatever. You know what I mean?
Parents, so her former in-laws, have to like attest to how wonderful and lovely of a.
He didn't say she killed them out of love. He was saying that is one of the categories of filicide, but that it doesn't apply to her.
Of a mother she was, or like every acquaintance, every medical provider. Like there's just nothing.
There's
so,
nothing.
Of course, given the varieties of human experience, right? Or William James, varieties of religious experience. Like of course, it's possible that there was something this could be done for socio.
Yeah. Oh, she was a great mother. Yeah. Other than the part where she killed her kids, right? Yeah. Other than that part.
Sociopathic reasons. Mm-hmm. But in this case, there's just nothing. And yet, like the people who bloviate on the internet about it, 95% males have.
Altruistic filicide it's obviously like nonsensical, but it would be like if you thought your kids were suffering and you wanted to like end their suffering or something like that.
To say
I don't really know. I'm kind of guessing, but probably something like that.
And I'm not used to like collectively addressing males, but I feel like I don't really have a choice here. they just don't. They don't even care to know about the evidence enough to realize that none has been presented that would at all validate their kind of most cynical.
I don't care about
kind
the
of weird,
evidence.
visceral need to want to
You're
believe the
saying,
most damning
all
possible.
women. It's
not
like,
all women, even Lindsay.
Okay, Richard Spencer. Time to actually defend the sane position, which is that yes, we don't care about the evidence because of the heinousness of the crime.
Even Lindsay.
They're taking it beyond.
Lindsay herself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Forget broadening it out to all women, just in terms of Lindsay herself, because they're saying, I can't believe, I'm so shocked that anybody would, quote, defend her as though they're defending the child murders, right? No, they're defending, having some degree of conscientiousness towards somebody who is otherwise perfectly normal.
No, I don't. When you say I stand with Lindsay Clancey, you're fucked in the head. Yeah, I can't believe that people are doing that. I can't believe again, it's one thing to be like, I've said this already, but it's one thing to say well, we got to figure out why this kind of stuff happens. We got to look at these psychiatric drugs. We got to look at everything, try to figure out what. It's one thing to say that. When you say I stand with Lindsay Clancey, fuck you. Fuck you, you freak. What do you mean you stand with her?
This has been studied, by the way. This is not new. Postpartum depression has been around forever. This isn't new. It's not always dramatic, by the way. And guess what? Women move beyond it. There are women that get help and move beyond it. They used to call it baby blues. Ask y'all's mother, But this is, and it's not uncommon. Hers is different. And again, has been studied. This isn't some random sort of word that's been pulled out of the blue. I mean, clearly people have studied this. They've ruled out there's all kinds.
It kind of was pulled out of the blue, though. When did that become a thing? Brock, when was the term postpartum depression coined? What year?
1929. That's the earliest documented use in the American Journal of Psychiatry, according to the Oxford English Dictionary and Merriam-Webster.
And before that, was it known as a lot? When did the concept before that start to get studied?
The concept was studied seriously starting in the early 1800s under the name puerperal insanity. French psychiatrist Esquirol published the first detailed psychiatric accounts around 1818, and London obstetrician Robert Gooch adopted the term itself in 1819. The real landmark came in...
Anonymous sent $5 on Power Chat. Humans are simple. It was out of mutual spite she was chad-witted and or hung like a hallway. He pulled away. They both ejected. She did the dirty work. He is supportive now and with new title.
Oh my God. Okay, thank you. What ethnicity was Gooch?
English. Born in Great Yarmouth, Norfolk, in 1784, and practiced his whole career in London.
Okay. I mean, it's been around for a while, I guess. It's been around longer than, it's what we would call modernity, I suppose. So that is something.
I don't know if anybody's researched it. Oftentimes, psychosis is more linked to bipolar disorder, which is very interesting to me. Because
hers could be an aberrant manifestation of what gets kind of broadly described as postpartum depression as an umbrella term, right? So it's possible that there hasn't been a deep forensic study of how it happened to manifest with her, and it kind of intersected with maybe other dispositions she had or something. Because again, it's so anomalous that you got to think there are some anomalous, aspects to it, right? One thing I wanted to mention though, and Richard, I'm actually curious for your take on this. what makes this issue so unusual, in terms of how I perceive it. Okay, sorry to bring one of the horrible men in for a moment. Is that although there are some people on the right, on like the infotainment punditocracy podcast, right, who want to make this into just a classic culture war style issue where like the only ones defending Lindsay and doing the unthink.
I didn't want to make it anything. I just saw a bunch of women being like, I stand with Lindsay Clancey, and I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Oh, and I'm what? I'm not allowed to notice that it's all women. You look at the crowds of the supporter, and also, by the way, they're white. I did notice that. You look at these crowds outside the courthouse, it's literally, first of all women, down to the person, 100% women, and then like 98% white. Okay. I'm not allowed to notice those things. Like it's my fault. It's my fault all these women were like, I stand with the child murderer. You stand with the child murderer? That's fucked up.
It's like, lib fem women. I'm amazed. I'm hearing, publicly and privately from women who are virtually unanimous in like thanking me, even though like I had no like conscious goal of like placating women or something.
Oh, sorry. 99.9% women and Michael Tracy. My bad. The only good man on the planet.
And it's right-wing women, it's apolitical women. Yeah, it's some, just lib them, type women. It's across the board. Okay. There's no real ideological distinction here. Like I was talking to these like Christian evangelical women and stuff who like have the same take as a pussy hat woman, more or less.
Well, because
that's also what annoys me about this like just kind of frivolous, like reductive way that this issue is getting processed.
Think this is a culture war issue at all.
I agree. It's not a culture war issue.
Anyone trying to make a culture war issue is not looking at the case seriously. I 100% agree with that. Yeah, and it's misogynist. Like all women want to do this or something, even though obviously men are responsible for murders.
That's like me saying all men are inherently going to want to rape somebody.
No, but I mean, it does show why misogyny is necessary.
That makes no sense.
At least has an evolutionary.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, I said it's not a culture. I guess it can be a culture war thing, but it's like nobody wanted this. This is like a culture war that we were hoping for.
I also just kind of dislike on principle, where like when a trial with like discrete factual circumstances and like evidentiary issues and legal questions gets like turned into a referendum on some just kind of like vague social issue, like what does this say about all women? I mean, OJ is like the paramount example of this, right? But even like then when I guess it reaches a certain when a trial reaches like a certain tipping point of cultural awareness.
It's so stupid. He started off bad mouthing men to the point where he had to go #not all though, right? But it's okay when he does it. So if he notices that it's mostly men who are like, yo, we should hang this bitch, that's okay. But if you notice that it's all women going, I stand with Lindsay Clancey, the child murderer, now it's a problem.
That's what's going to.
And we're going to straw man you and say that you think it's all women. I don't think it's all women. My wife's not a crazy bitch. My wife is not trying to convince me to go easier on Lindsay Clancey.
I mean, I'm surprised, Michael. I don't know if I'm surprised race and sexual.
I'd be very concerned if she was. I'd be very concerned.
Orientation haven't been brought in because
people are over race now.
Because
it's all about sex and gender.
No, I'm not kidding. I'm surprised. Has there been? Because that's our go-to. Like, I have no idea that she's just a normal white woman. Is that an issue for people? I don't
know. No, I did have somebody try to propose how a racial angle couldn't be like smuggled into this. She said that. It's sort of odd that in Massachusetts.
I mean, the racial angle is obviously that her supporters are all white, which is very concerning and unfortunate. That's the racial angle is right there on its face. All these women are white. These 3 women are white. I don't know if she's like a Hapa or what. And it's like, yeah, you can find 1 or 2 non-whites who are going to share that position, but it's like there's just like an obvious trend here. It's that white woman empathy.
Massachusetts, peak Democratic woke, whatever, which is like not quite true for Plymouth County, but nonetheless, that would be like the stereotype that they would even have brought this case and overcharge in the way they did. Maybe they're doing that only because it's a normal white woman.
Overcharge? Who's saying that?
And they wouldn't do it to a minority. Like it was said sort of tongue in cheek, right? So, but like that was just like a way that was theorized that if people like want to make this some sort of racial issue, they could. I mean,
it's racial. You make it racial by saying white women are retarded, because look at they're all white women doing this. That would be very obvious if you weren't having such a hard time wrapping your head around the fact that these women are all retarded. He can't, right? I guess from his position, he could say black women are evil because they're not supporting Lindsay Clancey enough or something, right? If you wanted to come at it from the other angle, like the way a retard would.
It's not totally inconceivable. I mean,
I know I just did the thing I hate, which is saying white women are retarded, but again, it's like, look, I can't lie about what's in front of my face in this particular case. I'm sorry. It's not all, obviously.
Maybe it is the case that these, because like the Plymouth County, I've actually totally unrelatedly, I've had to do a whole research tangent in the recent past on some bizarre stuff that the Plymouth County District Attorney's Office in particular gets up to with like, charging people for trafficking if like they respond to like an adult escort ad and like go to a hotel and they're charged with like human traffic, like the Johns are charged with human trafficking and sex trafficking. We don't have to get into that tangent, but I don't know. It's not out of the question to me that like, they want to establish their like willingness to like charge like a upper middle class Quinnipiac University, with a white woman with a normal family, just as vigorously as they would if it was, I don't know, some, black, woman in South Boston or something. Or poor white woman. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know it for sure. I'm just saying it's not crazy, but it would be weird to try to graft some kind of racial dimension onto this. I think people are kind of like burnt out on race to some extent. Again,
all right. I'm over it. Look, Lindsay Clancey supporters. Let's just look at who's outside the courtroom, just so you guys don't think I'm making this up. They are white. Okay? They are white women. It's what they are. Not very attractive either. We could add middle-aged, overweight. You don't see a lot of hot women. This is I mean, am I wrong? Am I lying? Where's the lie? They're ugly white women. Okay? I'm profiling. This chick would be considered hot at a Lindsay Clancey. She's obviously overweight. That's what passes for an attractive Lindsay Clancey supporter. I mean, they're just all white. Okay. All right. That is the show. We could probably talk about that a lot, but I mean, I think when somebody nailed it when they said white women are the most propaganda. It's also white people are very empathetic. We are a very compassionate people, and that's weaponized against us and has been used to goy beam us into being a bunch of mind raped kike slaves, basically. So you know, I don't like it, but it is what it is. We got to do something about it. Think about, like, as the man John Lennon said, think about it, do something about it. Woman is the nigger of the world. Think about it, do something about it. All right, you guys, have a good one. I'll do a gaming stream tonight. I'll be back tomorrow with another show. Thank you for watching. Appreciate the support. I will catch you on the flip side. Peace out.
Chat